Do you hear an echo now?
It says we're live.
Oh, oops. I clicked the live button. I hit the broadcast button, I mean.
And it's still not coming up on your channel.
Well, I put out a message type thing. It should have. Well, it probably won't come out on the YouTube thing because I haven't figured out how to play the YouTube videos on YouTube Hangout itself, right? Where we had the comments thing. Oh, you know what this means, don't you? Because now the echo's gone. Nope, now the echo's back. Hey, AJ.
Is AJ the echoer?
Yeah,
I can't
he was the
hear
echoer.
Yeah, but I don't have headphones on. I think that's the difference.
You did what?
I don't have headphones on, so I think that might be the difference.
Yeah, that makes a massive difference.
Oh, yeah.
And I apologise if I'm a bit snappy and cranky. I'm exhausted. It's been a really long week.
Alright.
You're going to make me say it, aren't you? Blaise, do you need a period week?
No. Check out my bruise.
Period leave. That's what I'm going for.
I have an owie on my arm. I'm bruised.
I've got an owie, but I'd have to pull down my pants.
Yeah.
We're still live?
Yep, we're broadcasting. At least I think we are.
Oh, okay.
Half the time I think we're broadcasting, it doesn't even cut in until like a few minutes through. I set this for 1 o'clock, so, you know, this is just going to be our banter session for the next 4 minutes, just to make sure.
Okay.
Well, where's the link?
What do you mean, link? Oh.
So that I can tell other people where we are.
Okay.
It's not coming up on your channel. And where's the chat?
They're probably isn't going to... Oh, it's giving me an actual YouTube link. Okay, this is a little different.
I don't think you've set it up quite well. I'm cranky.
I'm posting it now.
Do we have a comment section?
I don't know.
Let's go find out.
We're supposed to. This comes with one.
No. Oh, yeah, there it is. It's just taking forever to load.
Are you talking about the group chat?
Yeah, there's a chat. Oh, come on, you stupid.
There's a group chat, but is there an actual conversation chat where the viewers can talk? Because the group chat will only be us.
No, there's a chat on YouTube. On your link.
Ah, okay. Yay, there it is. Okay. Yep, I see it.
Well, if we're actually live, we should probably actually be talking. I'm sure this is thrilling for people. Hello,
Yes,
people.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, okay, so we can confirm so far that we are active and live and everything else, right? So, time to get on with the show. All right, so we're the Bear Brigade. Well, most of us are here anyway. Pike will join us as soon as he's watching I Am Batman.
Apparently it's not very good.
Yeah, I heard bad things about it too.
Actually, it is good. You guys should not listen to critics. Critics have no idea what they're talking about in this. Well, okay, we'll get into that.
I'm going to put it this way. I'm going to put it this way so that everybody thinks about this. This is the thing about Batman, okay? He's a rich old guy who keeps an underage boy in tights in his basement while driving around a phallic car.
Well, there's more than one version of Batman. This version of Batman, actually, Robin's already dead, so I don't know. But I think the reason why critics have panned it is because it's not like a cheery happiness, like there's no really like funny moments or anything like that. Kind of like
there's no pow or zap in the middle of the screen.
I heard it was just because the plot was all over the place with a gazillion plot holes, and just the story was all over the place, and it's really hard to follow the narrative.
There's kind of there
I've
are
not
plot
seen
holes,
it,
but you recognize that they're going to be explained in later movies, and the thing is, that's what.
No, movies have to stand alone, and you have to. If this is the first movie, you have to explain it in.
Yeah, there's one thing. Well, I mean, I think it's made more so for.
Hello, chat. Apparently, you've got to see it 2 or 3. A film that you have to see 2 or 3 times to get it, when it should just have been a popcorn movie
Like,
to watch these 2 superheroes going at it.
Yeah, for example, I'm not gonna give away too much, but there's a scene where the Flash is there's an image of the Flash, and he's talking to Batman about Superman. He's saying, "Oh, you were right about him." The thing is, if you already know a lot about the DC universe, you realize that okay, the Flash can travel through time.
So can Superman.
And we're gonna get that later on in the Justice League. So we're gonna get explanations in the Justice League movies, and that's what I think. I don't know.
The Flash is just pissed because he couldn't outrun Superman.
Yeah. No, what I think is going to happen is there's going. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but they're kind of hinting towards like Superman going kind of rogue, going a little bit evil. So
I watched the Angry Joe review and spoilers, because I don't plan to see the film, because I had after the last one I wasn't expecting anything decent, and because I do a little bit of creative writing as one of my many hobbies, so having really poor, bad narratives, lack of characterization, where plot is forced, that really gets on my wick, and I know that I'd hate this movie just because from the sound of it, it's bad.
It wasn't forced because of I've been reading DC comics my whole life, so I get it. But I could see why you're a typical person.
But so they have main characters that aren't from the main stories, where they've just revamped everything. So they don't have the actual characters, but then they're doing like little tidbits and things for the fan service. It's like, where's the audience? Who is your audience? It doesn't really know who it's for. Is this for mainstream or is it? And it's trying to do too much.
Well, here, hold on. Let's just
No, I
peel it
definitely
down.
agree with that, but I still say it's worth a look, just because if you're gonna judge it as a whole universe, the DC universe that they're doing, I think it's worth a look, just because you do like once you watch it, you realize that it's gonna be part of something more. Like
I disagree, because it doesn't matter if it's something more. They can't make a successful Superman movie. They just can't do it.
They should have just done a Batman movie.
They can't make. They also can't make. Okay, on the opposite side, they can't make a good Fantastic Four movie either. They've tried twice and they failed twice.
Hey, I should get back on
topic.
Sorry,
3 times. They failed 3 times to make a Fantastic Four movie to succeed.
Yeah.
DC cannot make a good movie. They suck at it. Okay, when it's Marvel, they make phenomenal movies. Movies I thought were going to be B turned out to be super A+ fucking movies. I mean, they nailed it way over the head with Deadpool. They did fantastic with the Avengers. I was expecting Captain America to be boring, and it blew my fucking mind. Right? Because I always thought Captain America was some B fucking or even C-rated superhero, and they totally vamped him up.
Marvel does a better job marketing their movies, and they do a better job aiming it towards a more diverse audience.
No, see, that's not even it. What Marvel does is they say, okay, these are comic book nerds, right?
Right.
What's a good story to tell? So they tell a good story, and what's always made Marvel better than DC is you can really sink your teeth into the characters. It doesn't matter what their super abilities are, right? Mm-hmm. Marvel will find a way to use the power in a unique way to make it interesting, no matter what the power is.
I think DC's a little bit behind on the game too. I think they'll catch up. I think they're doing Suicide Squad
years.
specifically for that reason. So
Listen to Stan Lee on Marvel. But yeah, we're way off topic. We need to get to the show, so we're going to start like we do every episode with the tweet of the week. AJ, you haven't been on in a while, so you go first.
I'm going to look through my tweets to get a tweet of the week because I totally forgot about this segment.
AJ, you kill me. All right, Blaise, you go. Right. He's looking for his tweets.
I need to go look mine up. I wrote it down somewhere. I just need to go look it up. I'm being really rubbish today. I'm really exhausted.
You guys are killing me. All right, I'll go with the tweet of the week.
Yeah, you start.
So my tweet of the week isn't a tweet, actually.
I do have one.
This is actually a conversation I had less than 20 minutes ago. Oh, wait. Yeah, about 20 minutes ago. So I'm riding in the car with my mother, and we just got done eating at the Chinese buffet. And she kind of has as much of an outburst as she ever has, being a meek little white woman. And she goes, I don't understand. Are you trying to convince these feminists to not be feminists and blah, 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 blah? And I'm like, no, that's not why I do it. She assumes that I get mad at this, which I don't. Okay? And I said, Mom, the reason I do this, the reason I make videos like this, the reason I have a whole show, right? The reason I make comments on Twitter is because I'm sick of being accused of being a rapist just because I'm male. I'm sick of having people make assumptions about me just because I'm whitish. Okay? I'm sick of people treating me bad. Because this isn't like it's just started happening. This has been going on since long before I was in high school. People keep treating me like I'm some kind of pedophile, like I'm some kind of rapist, and I have to keep apologizing.
You know, coffee is usually black, isn't it?
And making excuses for my race and for my sex. And you know what? I'm done with it. The whole world is not my responsibility, okay? I'm not at fault for everything that goes wrong.
Right.
And she started to see my point in this. I said, here's another reason why I do this, okay? An elderly man was thrown out of Barnes and Nobles. Why? Because he was in the children's section looking to buy a book for his grandson, right? A little kid's book for his grandson because his grandson is a little kid. Now, why did he get thrown out? They assumed he was a pedophile just because he was elderly, white, and male, which is bullshit.
Not to mention incredibly racist and sexist.
Yeah, it's racist, and it's sexist, and it's ageist. I mean, I think that's a really stupid fucking thing to say, ageist, but, I mean, whatever.
It happens. It's a thing.
I have my
but just call it age discrimination. Why can't we just call it age discrimination? Why do we have to shorten it so much to ageist? Ageist doesn't even sound right.
Because it's easy like, to say, it rolls off the tongue and everyone knows what you mean.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. It sounds weird.
Rolls off the tongue so much better than
it sounds like something you're doing to a block of cheese. Well, you see, this cheese is $3,000 because it's ageist. Right? So he was thrown out because he didn't have a little kid with him when he walked in. Right? And my mom goes, well, that's discrimination. I said, no shit, Mom, welcome to the club. This is why I do this, because that shit is wrong and it needs to fucking stop. Now, I wasn't able to say the rest of this, but why does a man in the desert drink the sand? This is an actual question. Do either one of you know the answer to this?
Why doesn't the
Why does a man in the desert drink the sand?
Why does he drink the sand?
Yes, why does he?
Wait, does he?
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming if he's drinking it, it must hold some water.
No, he's drinking it because he's got nothing else to drink.
You can't drink sand.
Well, you can try. Actually, you can because at some point it is a fluid, right?
Only if there's water in it.
No, even if it's still a fluid because it's all particles, right? And the way you're thinking desert, not like UK sand or like
New England. You can't just swallow it. You've got to.
Well, you're gonna start coughing it up because your throat's gonna be dry and the sand's gonna be dry.
I'm gonna stop overanalyzing it.
Yeah, you're analyzing it too much. What they do is they pick up the sand and they let it flow into their mouths, right? And the reason they do this is because, one, they're partially delusional because they haven't had any water for the longest time, so they're dehydrated and hallucinating, and they're drinking the sand because they don't have anything else to drink. The same thing goes with thoughts and words and language. If you keep told the same thing over and over and over again, enough time passes by, you will start to believe it, or at least most people will, because they're repeatedly told again and again and again and again and again. And this is how assumptions are made, like, oh, well, everyone's a Christian. No, not everyone's a Christian. Not even everyone who goes to your church is a Christian, no matter what church you go to. There's a lot of people who are atheists who are afraid to come out as atheists. And if they don't go to church, they could be seriously fucked because society will abandon them. They'll be ostracized. So people just assume, well, everybody knows there's a God, or everybody knows this is true, but, you can replace, that with anything. This is why I do this, because people keep assuming that these things that feminists keep saying over and over and over again are true. And she actually laughed when, since this is going to be on topic, she laughed because I told her that there's this meme, and she goes, "What's a meme?" That tells you how old and how out of the internet my mom is. And I explained to her what a meme is, and I said that these feminists, like this feminist is bitching because her father made her learn martial arts to protect herself, and she's told, when you go out, make sure you're in groups. Don't leave your beer anywhere or your alcohol drink anywhere because someone might slip something into it, which is true. These are possible things, and just being aware of these things will greatly increase your chances of not being raped. And these feminists are complaining that this is victim blaming and shit, that you should teach rapists not to rape. Yes, you're going to teach people who go out to do horrible things to people, and you're going to teach them not to do that. Yeah, that's going to work. So she's looking at me like, well, they shouldn't be doing these things, and I agree. People shouldn't be doing these things, but bad people are going to do bad things, and they're going to fucking justify it any way they want. It doesn't matter what you teach them; they're going to justify that what they do is right.
You only hear that with rape.
Hold on, let me get to this. So I told her, I said, okay, Mom, we should teach pedophiles not to offer candy to little children. We shouldn't teach children not to take candy from strangers. We shouldn't tell kids not to talk to strangers. We should tell strangers not to talk to kids. And then she laughed because she got how fucking ridiculous the feminist claim was. Because that's what she told me.
It completely removes any personal responsibility. It infantizes women, treats them like children, and tells women that they have absolutely no responsibility for themselves, which is nonsense.
Yeah, and you never hear that with like murder. You teach murderers not to murder. You only hear that with rape because it promotes their propaganda of that there's a rape culture, and they get to say, oh, here, look, see, they're telling me, oh, protect myself, but they're not telling this guy, oh, don't go out and rape. So therefore, that's indicative of the fact that we don't really care about the rapists that they're doing that. We just care about the fact that, women need to do this and do that, and it goes along with mucking up the definition of rape, too. So we'll probably get into that later on. So
don't tell me to get homeowners insurance. Tell fire not to burn down my house.
Yeah.
So I do want to make a...
Yeah.
So I want to correct something that I said last week. So last week we had a look at the CDC, and we said that there were twice as many made to penetrate as completed female rapes, and actually when I've actually read the study, and actually you need to compare the made to penetrate did include attempted and alcohol, So actually it was more appropriate to compare the two larger numbers, which made them the same rather than there being half as many female rapes. So actually it's pretty equivalent in how many male and female made to penetrate and rapes. So I just wanted to correct that from last week, because I've actually read some more of that document. I haven't finished it yet.
Right. Well, that's another thing that mucks up the definition of rape, is the fact that, and see, here's what I think what happened with this. So now we're starting to include in the definition of rape someone that's.
Hold on, AJ. Before you go on to that,
yeah.
Your tweet of the week.
I have one.
Okay.
That's fine. This one. Okay. And I want to preface this by saying, eventually I did talk to this person more, and they turned out to be a little bit better than I originally thought they would be. They were more reasonable than they sounded this week. But here it is. So they said there is a huge, and that's the word huge is caps, difference between feminism, that word's also in caps, and misandry, also in caps. Pick up a fucking book and learn it. Fuckface. I thought this tweet was perfect on this. A, it has a super aggressive tone, and that's something I've noticed with a lot of SJW tweets, is they automatically go to like a really super aggressive tone, like off the bat. They don't even, like, it's not even provoked. They just go straight to the aggressive tone, and then. You know, nobody needs a book to tell them that misandry and feminism are two different things. We all kind of know that. But the point of that is why people equate the two is because so many misandrists are feminists, and those people are the ones that are A, creating laws, and B, they're the biggest representation of your viewpoints. Because they're the most out there. They're the most willing to speak up. And I thought also the fact that this is like, what I see from a lot of feminists is like, is a lot of damage control. I think feminism spends like most of its time with damage control. Even Emma Watson gave like a huge damage control speech to the U.S. So for a while, it's been like just on this huge like damage control. You know, that's why you get the people
what was she damage controlling from?
I haven't heard this. I don't know what happened, but what it seems like is that some people, she probably saw some tweets of people saying like very misandrous things and saying, oh, you know, and they were equating feminism with it, right? And so I think she wanted to make a tweet saying, oh, feminism and misandry are not the same thing. And I think, and some people got at her about that, and I did too. I said, it's not that feminism and misandry are you know that they're not the same thing. That very bonding relationship, and most misandrists are feminists, and those feminists are pretty much in control of
I've noticed that the misandrists tend to be radical feminists, like more specifically.
Right.
Whereas the racists, the people that say that a black person can't be racist to a white person, they tend to be the intersectional feminists. So there is a trend I've noticed there. So I'm more
and the funny thing is, those people
wave. So I'm not either of those two.
Now, I've said this before in other streams, but for those who haven't heard me say this before, the whole claim that you can only be racist unless you can't be racist if you're white, and you can't be racist, or sorry, it's not racism when it's against white people, and it's not sexism when it's against males, right? These people are making what's called the logical fallacy, which is called special pleading. They're entering something else so that it discounts, right? Whether it being sexism, racism, which is bullshit.
The funny thing is, it's a lot of times it's usually have you guys seen the? All right, so there's a video where there's two people. Well, there's a guy. He went to like either it was a Bernie Sanders rally or he was at a Trump rally, and some Bernie Sanders people showed up, right? And there's these two guys, right, talking to him. And there's memes out there. One's Carl the Cuck and then Abe Skrillex. You probably, if you spent some time on the internet, I'm sure you've seen these two guys. And one guy says to him, he says, Donald Trump doesn't care about, black lives or something like that. And he said, okay, so do you know that there's more white people that get killed by the police than there are black people in America? And he says, fuck them. and then he goes on to say, you've never experienced oppression because you're a white male. He's trying to tell him. And it's like, okay, so just because you're a white male, that automatically discounts any level of oppression that you've experienced. Well, try telling that to the homeless guy on the street who happens to be white.
Yeah, I used to be homeless. I also used to live in downtown Cincinnati, where almost everyone around me was black.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to get hired by a black employer, right, when there's a black community, it's not because I'm white. And if it is, the racism that you're talking about would be affirmative action because they don't have enough white people in the place to make it more diverse.
I disagree. Right. You can, a man can be sexist against men, and blacks can be racist against other blacks. So
yes, I know. The funny thing,
I mean, the chances are, but it's possible.
The funny thing is, and I said this yesterday to a black woman at the grocery store, because we were having a long conversation before I pulled my groceries away from the register, and she was off duty, and the other woman who was running the register, who rang my stuff up, I've known her for years. Since that store opened up, I've always gone to that store for most of my groceries, and we were talking, and I was explaining to the black woman the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life was from a black woman to a black guy. And she gave me this crooked-eyed look like, what? And I said, well, okay, first of all, you have to understand that this black guy, he listens to R&B and rap and heavy metal music, right? And the black woman on the bus, now we were all getting a ride to work, right? The job was like 45 minutes away. So we get picked up in one place, right across the street from the temp service, and we were traveling all the way through Cincinnati to get to this job, right? Where you put all the temps into this pig pen type area, and then the line workers pick who they want to work with them on their line.
You make it sound like a slave market.
Well, it's not. It's just like sometimes what it is. It's a clusterfuck of we don't know how many employees we're going to need today, so everybody shows up, right? The more seniority you have, the more likely you're going to get onto a line. If the job's run out, then you go the fuck home. You get back on the bus and you get taken back to the bus stop, and then you go, like I said, back home or to the store, or where the fuck ever. So anyway, we're on our way there, and like I said, this is an area where it's predominantly black. And the woman says to the guy, because you're listening to heavy metal music, you're betraying your color. What she meant by color was his race.
Yeah.
And everybody on the bus just swung their head and looked at her like, are you fucking stupid?
Cultural appropriation, clearly.
And well, no, because heavy metal music comes from rock and roll. Half of rock and roll
don't even.
Black people.
I was joking. Let's not go there.
I know, but I also said this in the store, right? So and she's laughing her ass off because she knows how stupid that statement is and how racist it is. And for those of you who don't know, most of my family is black. My mom's black, my dad's black, my brother's black, my sister's black, right? I've dealt with racism based on my race, where I did not have much power, especially when I was homeless in the area. I've been so hungry that I've passed out in high school in my first class, right? So I've had so little to eat that when I get up from my seat, I keel over. I passed out. The teacher freaked out. I ended up going home. So, yeah, I know what it's like to be disadvantaged. But according to Bernie Sanders, I don't exist.
You're white. Oh, no, you can't. You must have just, lied, clearly.
Yeah, I only have a severe crack in the back of my head to prove it,
Mm-hmm.
It is ridiculous.
And what they say about that is they say, okay, so you can be discriminated against, but it's not racism because racism has to have like this power structure to it. And really what they're trying to do is they're trying to dismiss it. They can say, okay, we know that that's an experience you had, but it's not real racism and it doesn't deserve any media attention like it does when it's against black people because of this reason. Because then they say, okay, so it's not real racism. So you can have that experience as a white person, and they know white people have that experience, and they do the same thing for sexism. They know men have certain experiences that aren't, less than favorable. They're less than favorable experiences.
So this is the hierarchy of oppression.
Yeah, exactly.
What I love is when they say, well, it's about equality, but then they say it's for women, right? So it's women to be equal up to men. I said, oh, in that case, you should kill yourself. If you really want equality in all aspects, right, then you should be killing yourself. They're like, that's a horrible, shitty thing to say to a person. No, the suicide rate is 80% male. So if you really want equality and you want to be equal to men, then you should tell women to start killing themselves.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's the solution, right? That's the kind of crap that they keep telling you. Well, we need more white women or we need more female politicians because it's not equal, and therefore blah blah blah. I said, well, how do you explain Obama, right? Because he's completely pandering to women for 8 fucking years, right?
Yeah.
8 fucking years he's been pandering to women.
Right,
So it doesn't matter if he's male or female. He's still pandering to that gender.
Is your rant over? Have you finished?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. My tweet of the week is related to this idea of erasing victims. So for people who haven't been paying attention, I am currently promoting a petition to get women's impact and agency recognised by UK law. I'll just wait for it to load and then I'll share my screen. So basically, I'm just telling everyone about this every time, at every opportunity. So this is to get the UK definition of rape to recognise female on male rape. So basically to include envelopment. Because at the moment, the actual definition of rape excludes women's impact and agency. So apparently, as a woman, I can't rape. And I think that that's a bit ridiculous. And if you're not going to take me seriously, when I'm naughty, then why should you take me seriously when I'm nice? So I've been promoting this quite a lot.
We'll always take you seriously when you're naughty.
Well, yeah, if you don't have the same responsibilities, like particularly under law, then you're not equal. So yeah, I want equal responsibility, not just equal rights.
In that case, we'll go double Dutch on the whip and the handcuffs.
So anyway, so I've been tweeting this out, and I've been sending it to some other feminists because this is about women's impact and agency. I'm like, oh, but as a feminist, you should really be into this and helping me promote this. So I'll stop screen sharing. So
No, actually, go back to the screen for a minute. Do you notice anything about that screen? Look at that page now, right? What did it look like yesterday?
Yeah, so we've been getting about 1,000 signatures a day, which is amazing. I'm so chuffed. So we need to get up to 100,000.
Not just in a day, but you had 13,000 yesterday. Yeah. Last night.
It's doing really well.
This morning.
Really. But we need to do better. We need to keep up. We need to keep promoting this. We need to keep doing this. So my tweet of the week is related to that. I wasn't just you know,
I know exactly where you're going.
Promoting. Sorry?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Go ahead.
So, who I'm talking about is a very, very well-known feminist. She's very, very radical. She's a massive misandrist. She's very well-known. But I don't really want to name her because we did say we won't name and shame on this.
No,
so
we just said no. We changed that. We said what we'll do is tell people not to go and harass them.
Okay.
We tell people not to barrage their accounts with hate.
So do not dogpile. No dogpiling. We do not approve of dogpiling. Just so you want me to show you the tweet?
Yes.
Actually, especially in this case because she loves that shit. I know it. Yeah. I know she loves that shit.
Yeah, she will do. So this was the tweet that I sent. So to be fair, I sent this to her. I started this. So I've been sending similar sorts of things to a load of feminists because this is a feminist issue. So apparently, can you rape the willing? Basically, all men always want it all of the time, and so it's absolutely impossible for a woman to rape a man because by default they're gagging for it regardless.
To answer her question, no, you cannot rape the willing, which is going to be our argument through half of today's show. But what she's implying is that all men are willing, which is bullshit. Not all men are willing. That's why this is rape.
Yes. This picture is available to download from the website. We should have links later. Please download it, share it, spread it around. So I made that picture, so hopefully it's a good one. So basically, we just went on a bit. She compared Egafem to The Onion as a parody site. So apparently, believing in women's impact and agency, and believing in women, and believing that women should have equal responsibility for men, apparently is a joke. What's
a joke is when you have the mentality of every argument you make is, will somebody please think of the children?
And by children you mean women, yeah.
Well, yeah, they do that kind of shrieking for women. They're like, women can't go into STEM because
there are men there, but there's not enough women in STEM, but there's men there. So, well, what do you want? Stop telling women that men are evil and horrible and rapists, and then you should go.
Women aren't encouraged to go into STEM. You think men are? The whole time I was in high school, they never came to us and said, "Hey, if you go into STEM, there's all these scholarships and grant money, and if you go into STEM, you'll make lots of money." They didn't say this to us. No, what we were handed out was a bullshit business brochure that says, "It's true, money doesn't make you happy. The guy with 10 million is just as happy as the guy with 9 million."
So, to be fair, at school I went to an all-girls school, and we were really encouraged to go into STEM. I am actually in STEM, so I'm a systems engineer, and I love it. I love my job. But anyway, so basically, Deborah Hitchens, I pointed out to her that actually she is completely belittling women. She's a massive misandrist and a misogynist, because she's basically saying that women have no impact, no agency. She doesn't believe in women at all. She doesn't believe in equality. I was like, well, how do you call yourself a feminist when this is what you're peddling? And you are discouraging women from getting out there and doing things. You're actively harming them. You are causing psychological harm to women due to their gender, which is the very definition of violence against women. So I just found that quite amusing.
Okay, so
Gray, the position around, please. That was the main point.
So Gray D Jedi, if I'm pronouncing this right. If I'm not, I apologize. Says, so I'm curious what you guys think about the recent claim that Tabascus YouTuber is a rapist. I can't answer that because I have no idea who Tabascus is.
Yeah, I don't know who they are.
I have no idea of the claim or any kind of evidence that may or may not have been presented.
So I don't know who that person is. I've seen the claim, but I haven't read it all the way through. I've kind of glanced at it. You know, if it's true, then at the end of the day, Tumblr is not where you should report rape. Mm-hmm. The police is where if you report rape to Tumblr instead of the police, I question what sort of justice you're trying to achieve. You should go to the police. This is a police matter. You must go to the police. You must get true justice.
I question the claim at all if you report it on Tumblr.
When they do that, there's an agenda behind it. It's the same thing. I had an argument with someone about this too, with Kesha and her fight with Dr. Luke on. There's actually news about this. Is that they found that Kesha couldn't file some sort of hate crime against him because there was no basis for that. And I actually had an argument with someone, and they were saying, "Oh, how could they not see that he raped her? That's the ultimate hate crime." It's like he was not convicted of that, and she no matter how many people.
She didn't report it. She had stated a few years earlier that they didn't have her, that he didn't rape her, that he didn't drug her, and then she changed her story. And that was suspicious because it was very much at her convenience.
Yeah, it was.
But even regardless of this is a police matter. Whether this is true or not, part of me is would I rather this was true or would I rather this was false? Mm-hmm. So I'm not disbelieving her. I fully support victims, and I want to be there for victims. But that doesn't mean that I believe in the accusation. I'm supporting a victim, but I'm not condemning the perpetrator until they are accused. Innocent until proven guilty, and it's a fine balance.
Yeah, and so that's what it almost feels like they're trying to get this new standard of almost basically just skip due process and believe that woman no matter what, because why would anybody ever lie about something like that? That's kind of their stance on that. And there's millions.
So apparently
we posted a link last video as to why somebody would lie about it. We tried to show on YouTube. We tried to show on here, and apparently it didn't work. But now we figured out a way to get it to work. Although I don't know what the quality will look like.
I'd also like to say hello to my stalkers. Yay! But yeah, so apparently she is going to go to the police. But then
going to? Oh, please. If she went to Tumblr first and not the police, I doubt it at all.
Yeah, it's not hard to go to the police.
Don't go to Tumblr, go to the police.
If this was a real case, she would have gone to the police first.
Well, you can't really necessarily argue that necessarily, but going to Tumblr first and getting the hate mob and riling people up and getting the attention, it does make your claim.
This is so she can tamper any kind of possible jury.
Yeah, and it's going to prejudice the police against you, and you're releasing details to the general public, which is going to harm a jury because they're not allowed to know anything about the case. They can only listen to. So you're really harming your own case by releasing all of this on and think, do it in private. Get your friends and family involved. Don't get Tumblr or Twitter involved. Go to the police. I really hope that I do hope that she has as much support as she needs, and I hope that this is something. But also with him. With him, I hope that he is also, because this is going to be a really hard time for him. I don't know if this is true or not. But even then, due process. He's innocent till proven guilty.
Yeah, and at
this rate, we're really going to have to get people to have anonymity before they're convicted, because we've had too many mob lynchings. We're on a witch hunt at the moment. It's the Salem witch trials all over again for rapists.
Mm-hmm.
There's one of two. Someone's a victim here. Either someone's being a victim of slander, or someone has been a victim of rape. And when it's a slander of a rape accusation, that never ends. That never goes away. They keep talking about, well, if you come forward with a rape claim, you get slut shamed and blah blah blah. Nobody shames you for being a rape victim nowadays. Maybe 80 years ago that happened. That doesn't happen.
The only people who are some of the main people who are discouraging women from going to the police are some of the outcome feminists who have their own agenda. They need to keep the victim narrative going because that's what they feed on. They're using rape victims and
Which
abusing
is why
them.
hashtag not your shield exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then they get to say, oh, see, women don't report rape because yada, yada, yada. But it's them that are trying to convince them not to report that rape. Probably most of the men in their lives are telling them to report the rape while I go kick his ass. That's probably what's actually happening.
Well, yeah, they're saying she's just got this massive mob on her side now and against him, and this is going to ruin, like, whatever. I don't know who he is, I don't know what he does, but it's certainly going to have a massive impact on him.
Well, it's the same situation as, like, the Kesha Dr. Luke thing, because everyone is, if you look at Twitter, there's hashtags that arise about it all the time against Dr. Luke, but he was never convicted of anything, and she never really seeked to convict him of anything. She just wanted to be released from her contract. That's all she's saying. She's not taking him to court for rape. So I don't get what it is that once you're convicted of, or once you're accused of rape, that sticks on you pretty much. You're like, nobody really, everyone believes the
It's like being a Muslim after 9/11.
Yeah. So this is a really good example of why women must be able to be convicted of rape, not sexual assault, rape. Because look at the reaction, look at the social implications. A sexual assault and rape are not equivalent. That you have to have, and you know, it's not got the same reaction. Women must be held to the same account.
That's not entirely true. For men, they're an equivalent because they call it sexual assault instead of rape. So when I hear a man is sexual assaulted, I consider that considerably higher on the how victimized this person was.
Most people don't. It's that word, and as we're going to discussing, that word has power. That word is different. That word makes a huge difference.
That's true.
Women need to be able to be accused of it because it's not the same.
This is what I wanted to correct you about on the show yesterday too. All words have power.
Well,
right?
some have more power than others.
That's because we give those words more power, right? Here's an example. Here's a perfect example. Let's say, for example, you told me that your mom had trouble at the store last week, and I said, "You're full of shit." You'd be very offended by that, right? Now, let's say you told me your mother had trouble at the store last week, and I said, "Oh, humbug." Which one has more power? The first one, right? However, that's only true today. 100 years ago, me telling you you're full of shit would not been an actionable offense. Had I said humbug to you 100 years ago, you'd have punched me in the face. So words have different meaning based on...
Words do have power, words do have meaning, and it's a social construct.
Right, but you can't be harmed by words unless someone chucks a dictionary at your head. Okay, that's pretty much the only time you can be harmed by words.
Well, it depends what you mean by harm. You can definitely have an emotional response.
Yes,
but that's you can get punched in the face because you said something.
Here's the thing about people say.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, AJ.
All right, so if you have an emotional response to certain words, you're probably just not mentally and emotionally strong enough to handle that somebody has different opinions than you, or because there's almost nothing that anybody can say to you that can take away anything that you are as a person. So
I find it amusing when people start hating on me, because it's not a reflection on me at all. It's totally a reflection on them. And then when they say things that I know, they say things about me that I know are untrue, I'm like, that's just funny.
Right.
Here's the thing. You can't be offended without your own permission to be offended. That's the only way you can be offended.
Yeah.
You choose to be offended. You choose to get angry. Nobody can control your emotions. No one can make you mad. I hate that expression. It's a stupid euphemism. Nobody makes you mad. You get mad. You can simply choose not to be mad. If something is angering you, there's a reason it's angering you, but you're still letting it happen. It's a choice you consistently choose to make. You choose whether you're happy, you choose whether you're sad, right? It is actually just that simple. Now, maybe in order for you to change your brain, because your brain is angry for a reason, those of you who don't know, you should look up something called the cucumber experiment. Okay, basically, what it is they have two monkeys in two cages, right? They throw a little pebble, little rock into the cage. The monkey retrieves the rock, puts it in the hand of the scientist. The scientist hands the monkey a cucumber. They do this over and over and over again until they give one of the monkeys a grape. Then they throw a pebble in the other cage. The monkey hands back the little pebble, and he's given a cucumber. The monkey will then throw the cucumber out of the cage, rattle the cage, and lose its shit. The cucumber was fine 2 minutes ago. But now that the other monkey got a grape, everything's different. Go ahead, Blaise.
I had a couple of points. I'm not sure if I can remember them all. I've got a really short attention span.
Sorry.
So emotions are a lot more complicated. You can't necessarily choose, like particularly if you suffer from depression and things like that. So saying, oh, you can just choose not to get offended, you can just choose not to be sad, it's a lot more complicated. But I think that's interesting is recognizing when you do get angry, recognizing when you do have those emotions, try and be a bit more stoic. But also it's quite interesting. Why am I upset? Why am I offended? Why am I offended and the person next to me isn't? You can learn so much about yourself by analysing these things, and it's just a really great opportunity to grow as an individual.
Okay, Blaise, have you ever seen the movie Back to the Future 3?
That's the one with the train, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one where he goes back into the West. Okay, no, now in the prior movie,
I'm aware of it.
Whenever McFly was called a coward or yellow belly or whatever, the music stops. He turns around. He goes, "What did you call me?" And then he loses his shit and does something stupid. But in the third movie, the big bad villain says, "What are you, yellow?" And he goes, "He's an asshole." And he stopped being offended by being called a coward. He said, "He's an asshole. I'm not going to get mad at that. I know I'm not a coward. I've proven it a dozen times before. I know who I am. I don't give a shit what you say to me." So the answer actually is that simple, but the application isn't necessarily that simple, right? For example, it's real easy to earn money if you have a job. You go to work every day, you work your full shift, and you can get more money, right? There's a guy at work, he misses about a day a week. And he bitches about everything, so I think he's getting the period leave there. We make fun of him all the time, but anyways, my point is, going to work is not easy, but the answer is easy. You go to work and you work your shift all day. Now, here's the thing with depression. If you do 20 minutes of exercise every day, your depression goes down. It goes away. So
I would disagree with that.
No, I've got a scientific study that proves that. It's just as effective as over-the-counter prescription medication that they give. There are things you can do to get rid of your depression. I know I've had depression since I was a teenager, and I've been fighting it most of my life. And I don't just have like first world problems to deal with, like homelessness several times before I had a driver's license, complete lack of food, severe abuse, mental and physical. I'm seriously lucky to be alive. But I fight the depression. I realize what's keeping me down. And then I take steps, although they're not easy. The answer is easy. The application, the execution of that answer isn't easy. But it's still doable. And by the way, that scientific study will be in the down below. All references and work sites will be in down below unless we can't find them. There is one thing, today I am going to talk about one thing, and I tried like hell to find it. It's a real case. If anyone can find it later, feel free to send me the link, and I'll post it down below afterwards. But go ahead, please.
I do think I would love to see that study, because actually in our family we do have issues with depression, and we have tried just about everything over the last 7 years. And exercise is one of the things. We've changed our diet, we've done just about everything. It might be that it's more linked to anxiety and depression. They're very linked together. So I think it's a lot more complicated, and I'm not convinced that 20 minutes of exercise would work for everyone, because we've certainly not had it work for us.
I didn't say it would cure it.
It did improve.
Hold on. I didn't say it would cure it. I said it had the same effect as prescription medication. It was just as effective. Now, like prescription or over-the-counter medication isn't going to cure your depression necessarily. I don't think there's any pill. There's no magical answer for it, but it's just.
Depression it's complicated. There's an awful lot that impacts it. There's an awful lot of factors, I would say. So again, it will probably work in some instances better than others. So, but it'd be interesting in seeing the study.
Yeah. I totally hear what you're saying, and I agree to an extent. Everyone's going to have a different reason why they're depressed.
But if you are depressed, I do recommend exercise. It is great for you. Just the fact that you're doing something and you're taking action is going to be helpful.
Well,
taking
I also think,
and acting.
I know someone like this too, that they're depressed and then they take antidepressants. But what they're really depressed about is situations in their life. So any amount of workout or antidepressants doesn't really change your situation. They might have a minor effect for you on your outlook for a second, but once you actually face reality again, then that's when everything comes all crashing back.
Yeah, no pill is going to make you unraped. No pill is going to make you unbeaten. No pill is going to make the horrible shit that happened to you go away. None of it will if your depression is from a series of events.
There are some drugs that will make that go away for quite some time. but yeah, once
it'll only make you unaware.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll only slightly distract you. And some of those drugs, if you take them while you're seriously depressed, you can end up with a bad trip.
Yeah, I would not take LSD or mushrooms while I'm not.
Or alcohol.
Or alcohol, yeah.
Because one of the things I heard is that alcohol doesn't make you happy or mad. What it does is it exacerbates the current mood that you're in. So if you're in a really bad mood and you drink a lot, you're going to be an angry, mean, violent drunk. If you're really happy when you get drunk, then you're going to be I love you, man. You're doing great.
Again, just to play devil's advocate, I'm going to disagree from personal experience.
Hold on. Before you get into that, I'm gonna let everybody know that this is what I've heard. This is the various things that people have told me. I've never been drunk.
Okay.
So don't take my. I'm not saying I'm personal. Go ahead.
So from my lived experience, it depends on what I'm drunk on. I get drunk differently depending on what I'm drunk on. So there's some things where I'll end up in tears, and there's other things where I'll end up happy, and there's other things where I'll be more relaxed. I haven't found what makes me angry yet, but I'm sure there probably is something out there. So I would say that's not necessarily true.
You ever drink whiskey? Do you drink whiskey at all?
I don't know.
Oh,
well, not often enough to get drunk on it properly.
Do whiskey, you'll get angry, promise. Whiskey is classic fight drink.
I think red wine brings out my stress, and then I normally have an emotional breakdown. Cider's good. I like cider. Cider makes me.
Different reactions to two different types of drink. Whiskey being angry, and then tequila for girls making you not necessarily more horny, but more like more frisky. Susceptible to more frisky. Yeah, I guess that'd be a good word for it.
Candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker.
Yeah, the guy that's a 6, if you have a couple shots of whiskey, is all of a sudden a 9.
Beer goggles!
I wonder, so certain drinks have a reputation, so there's certain beers that are said to be wife beaters, so certain beers pretend to make. It's got a reputation for tending to make you more aggressive. So I wonder if this is a drink thing or if this is a personal thing. So do different drinks make different people have different reactions, or are there trends?
Yeah, well, from what I've heard from other people is like they're always telling me, oh, whenever I drink this, I always fight people. But if I don't drink that, I don't fight people. I don't know.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so Gray says periodic mushroom experiences are beneficial for the brain due to how they help neuron connection / plasticity. James Gesso is someone to look into as he's working on releasing some papers on healing depression through mushrooms and ketamine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that might be interesting to look at.
I don't know what the full effects of that on your brain can be. I will say this though, I know a few people in my life. I think there are definitely some beneficial aspects to certain drugs, but there's a few people I know in my life that have actually gone crazy from it, from taking too many experimental drugs. So that's also a warning out there to anyone who are looking to seek benefits from drugs.
I think
it can also completely mess your brain up. Where I think one guy specifically, I think was susceptible to schizophrenia. I think it ran in his family, and he took a lot of drugs. And I don't know if that's what caused him to happen what happened to him, but yeah, he basically went completely insane. Still pretty insane.
But then would he have anyway without the drugs?
Rabbit hole. It's been almost an hour and we haven't gotten to rape.
I'd like to finish the sentence I started because I don't want to leave the first part of that hanging. So I said the only drugs I have taken is alcohol and caffeine.
Ritalin for me, but it was against my will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've done
drugs and stuff, but like
I've smoked weed, I've drank, and I've had cocaine. So I think I've had a couple other things. So
I can't smoke cigarettes because I'm very, very allergic to them.
I might have had some
really late.
ones actually.
Okay, we can get back on to rape.
Let's get on topic.
Let's get on to rape. Let's contribute to rape culture here, guys.
Yay!
The first thing I wanted to say actually is because I didn't get to do it last week, so I don't know if you guys talked about this or not, but this notion that if someone drinks, that automatically qualifies them to be raped. So what I was thinking about this,
yes.
So what I was thinking about this yesterday is what probably happened here is that a bunch of women realized that they themselves and other women make poor choices in who they sleep with when they drink. And a lot of guys are there to take, to be that poor decision because they're pretty attractive, and that guy realizes that maybe he's not that attractive to ever get them.
Because no woman takes advantage of a guy when he's drunk.
There might be a slight chance she makes the bad decision to sleep with him. So instead of telling women that, or themselves, that they're not going to do that, don't do that, what they've decided to do instead is make laws where he's all of a sudden responsible for you to not do that. Not that you're responsible for yourself on who you sleep with, but that he's responsible for you because God forbid we ever punish a woman for something like that. So that's what I think kind of has gone on there.
So Lacey Green said that if you drunk too much to drive, then you're too drunk to consent.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, only women need to consent.
Right, because
it's
a man thing. She actually said that. She said sex is a thing. Sex is a thing, and it's an action that you do upon someone else. So the rapist is the guy because he puts his penis in the vagina. She actually did one of these things.
You have just removed women's agency from any intercourse, from any sex.
Yeah, even by that definition.
Women now, I cannot, and I've seen this. I actually saw this in a. The UK crime survey for England and Wales specifically says that sexual intercourse is penis penetrating. penis penetrating, which basically means that me, as a woman, I cannot act, I cannot have sex with my husband. He can have sex with me.
You've never had sex
have
before.
sex with him. They have completely.
No woman has ever had sex before.
So they've completely removed my agency. I cannot act. I can only be acted upon.
Okay, I'm gonna point this out.
Gymnastics you have to do for that. For you to say like women are independent and powerful yet can't even make a decision to have sex with. They don't never even have, no woman has ever had sex apparently. So I don't know, it's such mental gymnastics you have to do to reach those kinds of conclusions.
Yeah, I don't know what happened from the 70s to now, man. It used to be with a woman going, yes I can, right? That poster that was in my middle school and high school, it's been around since the 70s, right? Yes I can. Now it's, we're all victims.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking stupid. There's like, they make, these feminists make all women look out to be the most helpless, fragile pieces of fucking Japanese paper, man.
Was they accomplished all their goals. Feminism literally accomplished all its goals. I think at least the initial goals that it had, probably around the 70s. So
they didn't accomplish their goals. Their goals were being accomplished for them.
Well, I'm making new goals.
Google the new theories of patriarchy and new boogeymen to defeat.
I don't think we've achieved equality at all. I think that there's still plenty of battles to be won, mostly with women being given equal responsibility.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to be the goal of feminists now. They've always wanted, it's been 100 years, Blaise. It's been 100 years. Where's women's conscription? When have the feminists ever protested or had a campaign for women to be conscripted into the military?
I'm going to work on that. But in the UK, that's not an issue, because in the UK, both men and women get conscripted when required, and women have been conscripted in the past.
That's true, but that is just in the UK though. In Canada and the United States, right? And so, I don't know about France, but I don't believe women are conscripted in France.
So so that's something that we're going to look into in the future, definitely.
I'm
not naive. I am very well aware that third wave feminism are not representative of most feminists.
But it's not even the first or the second wave fought for this either. They said we want the right to vote, but we don't want to be conscripted. So we're just fighting for the right to vote, not the responsibility that we with that vote.
I usually hear more whenever I talk to feminists about this. They say, "Well, we don't believe in that either." I say, "Okay, that men should be conscripted either." It's like, okay, well,
then why are you protesting against it?
I see protests of no slut shaming. Where's the protest of don't draft men? You know, where's that protest? Where's them carrying picket signs for that?
So, they have a campaign to call all men rapists, but they don't have a campaign to protest conscription?
So I do think that either both should be conscripted or neither. So there has to be a policy. So in the future, I think this is something that we need to
If you lived in a free country, the government shouldn't be able to make you a slave of their war machine. And as a matter of fact, not joining the military in time of war isn't necessarily cowardice, but conscientious objectiveness. I would have raised hell if they tried to draft me into the war in Iraq and the Afghan war. I would have raised a ton of shit, and I can't even be drafted. You know why? I'm my biological mother's only biological son.
Do what, sorry?
In America, if you're the only biological son, you cannot be drafted because of the mother. Think about how fucked up that is for a minute.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Okay, have you ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah.
No, I don't watch film.
Okay, now why were they? Now he had there were 4 sons, right? 4 sons this mother had. 3 of them died. So they had to go find Private Ryan and bring him back home. Why?
Oh, yeah.
Because he was the only biological son left. You cannot be drafted if you're the only biological son.
Really? Yeah, that's...
Because of the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So even in the even that I can't be drafted, it's still sexist towards women or against women, however you want to look at that.
Yeah.
Because it's the son who usually takes care of the mother in old age because the father's already died because he worked himself into the fucking grave. But somehow it's harder for women to live.
Yeah.
But you still signed a document giving them permission to draft you, though, didn't you?
I know. I have to sign the document that says you can draft me. Actually, the funny thing is I filled out my card when I was 18, and they sent me a threatening letter when I was 19 that I have to fill it out or that I could face jail time. I'm like, you idiots.
They think that nobody ever faces jail time for that. I'll tell you that right now. But what would happen is if you wanted federal grant money for college, you can't get it.
Yes, I could.
Can't get it.
I specifically could have because my social security number wasn't working.
Yeah, okay.
Even the police couldn't find me when they plugged me into their database. It was weird.
You're a non-person.
Yeah, the policewoman was like really pissed. She's like, "You're not coming back in my computer database. What the fuck? Is this a real social security?" Like I started getting like the 10th degree, and legally I didn't even have to give her my info. But rabbit hole. Moving on.
Yeah.
So another thing they say. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to go back to the drunken one just for a second. If a woman gets into a car while she's completely drunk, and she's driving down the road, and she runs over your son or your daughter, killing them, and then she gets out of the car and says, "I'm over the legal limit to drive. I couldn't consent to driving. It's not my fault." How would you feel about that?
Right.
And if she is responsible for getting in the car and driving drunk, and being drunk is not an excuse for driving and killing somebody, then it's not an excuse to say, well, I can't give consent. Because if you can't give consent to drive, you sure as hell can't give consent to sex. But if you can give consent to drive, then you can give consent to have sex.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but driving is a privilege. Sex is considered a biological right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
The state can't order you not to have sex. Not in America, anyway.
And not only that, but if I can't remember what my point was. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so I think we've pretty much killed the alcohol one to death. Until Blaise remembers what she was going to say.
I remember.
All right.
Like if women lose their ability to consent so early on, then why do we let women drink?
Yeah.
Surely we should just outlaw alcohol. Maybe
well,
we should
just goes back to what I was saying. So what I think happened here is a bunch of women got together and realized they make bad decisions when they've been drinking, and they don't want to fix their drinking problem, so they lobbied the government to turn drinking consent to turn where you can't consent with a woman if she's been drunk. So now the responsibility is on the man, and it's not on the woman while she's been drinking. So they still get to have their alcohol problem, but they don't become responsible for anything after that.
So why should a man be twice as responsible as a woman, but still be treated, but still we want to have equality? If a man is twice as responsible as a woman, why shouldn't he be paid more when he's doing a job? He has more responsibilities on him in our system, in society.
Because women have periods and men don't have them, so,
Not equality in the ditches. It's not equality in the coal mines. It's not equality in, workplace deaths. It's not equality in standard of living. It's just equality in the
child support.
Child support.
Yeah, it's equality of convenience. I'm sorry, but you can't demand all the conveniences and none of the negatives. So if you're going to have equality, it has to be at all levels and all ways. And that's equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. You have to have the same opportunities.
They're getting away with it too. That's actually moving more and more towards their winning, because they're getting away with demanding these things. And for example, you have yes means yes laws in California, where you have to get constant permission throughout the intercourse of sex.
That just sounds dull. Why would they just? pulling all the joy out of sex.
That's
But then there's so
another
many
example of the
negative
government.
feminists, then maybe that's the point.
years.
They're not having sex, so they don't want to have anyone to enjoy it either.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you need to get big laid.
Yeah, the reason why I think that they're waiting and they're able to pass this by is because women are a huge voting bloc in the United States. They're the majority. So I think what's happening here is politicians, in order to keep votes, think that feminism represents all women, what all women think and want. So they're willing to bend and change the laws and say, hey, look at all these great things I did, elect me again.
And this is when Janet Bloomfield's Why Women Shouldn't Vote series actually starts making more sense.
It does. Yeah. It would change a lot. Yeah. I don't agree with that, but I
don't agree with the premise. But yeah, you can when they're like, well, they're listening to the feminists because women are the majority of voters. If the women weren't the majority of voters, they wouldn't believe the feminists, so it wouldn't matter. So problem solved.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys looking at my feminist logic right here?
Yeah. Well, I've seen this one.
Oh yeah, I've seen this one.
Okay, so to wrap up that last one we just debunked, waking up Coyote Ugly is not rape.
Yeah.
It's a bad decision, but it's not rape.
Also, then I think this transitions quickly into yes means yes. So what they're trying to do is the standard now is no means no. If she says no, and you continue to keep doing what you're doing, it's considered rape, which I even kind of just like, because, all right, so if you're in bed with a woman and you're making out with her and she says, no, stop, and then you stop for about 10 minutes, and then you maybe, like, try again, and then she's okay with it, the fact that she said no in the first place still gives her the right to say, well, I said no, but you continued anyways.
Not necessarily. You have to have, in UK law, you have to have a reasonable cause that you didn't believe it was consensual. So the fact that you tried again and she was receptive could muddy the waters a bit.
But in the state of place.
And now we muddy the waters even more because now we have yes means yes laws trying to go through. So a yes means yes is like I was explaining earlier.
It's worse here in Ohio. It's worse here in Ohio. Here's the thing. If you're having sex with a woman, right, and you're between, let's say, the 45th and the 46th thrust, and she says stop, and you finish to the 46th thrust, you're a rapist according to the letter of the law, and you can be taken to fucking prison. I'm not even joking you.
Right.
This is how the laws are set up in Ohio. There's pretty much no way that any adult male who's ever had sex is not a rapist according to the law. It's fucking stupid.
And how do you prove it? Even if she was really into it and she was very vocal and she did say yes the whole way through, and then afterwards it's her word against yours. How do you prove
it doesn't matter.
How do you prove it?
Oh, no, you have to prove you didn't do it. When it comes to rape laws, especially in the United States, you have to prove you didn't do it.
You have to prove that she did affirm that she was saying yes. So you have to prove that she consented.
Yeah, which is impossible.
Pretty much. Now the letter of the law says it's the opposite, but when it comes to juries, it's you have to prove you're innocent. Well, actually, that used to be the case. But there's so many false rape accusations that have been going around that juries are now changing their tune on this. And I'm basing this opinion based on what I've seen in the newspapers over the last couple of years. There are go ahead.
This new rape allegation that's come out against this Toby.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed to say, but my knee-jerk reaction is, another one? Really? Is this true? Because we've had some false rape allegations harm real rape victims. Stop it.
Yeah. They do.
I'm now, because I've seen so many false allegations now. When I see this one, and I could be completely wrong, she could be a genuine victim. She could genuinely really need some help and support and need to be believed.
And maybe the only people she has as friends is on Tumblr. That's a possibility. But because these liars keep going to the internet, right, saying I've been harassed or I've been raped, and they've been proven to be harassing themselves or never have been raped or never had gotten any death threats, right? And then they don't go to the police. They keep I don't believe them when they go online first and not to the police. Because when my place was broken into, I went to the police first. I didn't go online onto YouTube and say, hey, this just happened to me. I didn't tweet it out. Well, okay, Twitter didn't exist the first time my place was broken into, but that's beside the point. I didn't go on social media. The first thing I did was call the fucking police.
There's been too many cries of wolf, and it's getting to a point where even if you genuinely try and believe as many of them, at some point you're going to start feeling like a fool. And people don't want to feel like a fool. They don't want to be constantly shown that they're gullible. So if you keep having these situations, eventually the majority of people are just going to stop believing. You're going to have the very rape culture that they're trying to, that they say exists.
Well, they're
rape causing it.
That's the new boogeyman that I was saying that feminists have. These new boogeymen they're trying to tackle. That's one of them. Rape culture, which it doesn't exist, so you have this constant battle with something like that.
It does exist, it's just not the one they claim. You know what, I think everyone in our audience is already going to agree with this, and we covered this last time, so you don't need to go over it again, Blaise.
Okay, well, we've got new people and different people. I just want to say there is a rape culture against men. Right from the definition of rape by law all the way through to not believing that tweet that I had. Oh, men can't be raped. Rape culture. That's a genuine rape culture, and it's completely dismissing women's agency.
Who do you think gets raped more, men or women, and by how much?
So depending on your definition
of rape, the whole United States population.
We're going to use a real definition of rape.
Depending on your definition of rape.
So if you include made to penetrate, if you say that being forced to have sex is rape, without consent is rape, then according to the CDC data, it's fairly equivalent.
I have actually heard more statistics where it's more men are raped once you include the prison population.
Once you include the prison populations, I believe the prison populations in and of themselves have more rape in them than everywhere else.
Exactly. There's indicative of a rape culture against men. Because when men go to prison, for example, Jared Fogle, who just went to prison for having child porn, I've seen people say, I hope he gets raped, I hope he gets raped. People, whenever they are men exactly, especially, whenever they go to prison, people view those prison rapes as pretty much part of their punishment, and they view like whatever happens to Jared Fogle in prison as part of his punishment. Well, that's a problem. That's a rape culture right there that you have, because now you have people that are hoping they get raped. Now, if that's not rape culture, I don't know what is.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. I want to answer the question you just asked of me. I think it's 50-50. I think half the rapists are women, and I think half the rapists are men. And I actually pulled up a study last show that showed all these boys who reported in a survey, in an actual survey, not a bullshit one like you find on RAIN, where they said that they've been sexually assaulted by women, and by sexually assaulted it actually means rape, but because it's not called rape, blah blah blah. And they said 95% of the time it was by a female acquaintance. They knew the female.
Yeah.
On top of that study, right, that I showed last time, and I can show it. I can show it again if you guys really want me to. On top of that, I've talked to a lot of men, including in the show you were in last night. One guy said that he was raped by a woman. He was forced to have sex with her, and that's pretty bad. And when you count pedophilia, right? These child rapists, a lot of them are coming out now that they're women who are doing it to young boys. And the reason why this is such a shocker nowadays is because of the feminist ideology that only men want sex, only men want, you know, are pussy hard and women aren't dick hard. And I think Spotlight and 50 Shades of Grey have pretty much disproven that.
We have to recognise that women are capable of evil, and you know, they can be horrific, and they can victimise adults and children. But I would disagree. Yeah. I'm not convinced that it's fully 50-50 in terms of perpetrators. Again, the CDC, I've just read the section where the perpetrators of the made to penetrate, most of them, 70 to 80%, I can't remember the exact number, were female, but not all of them were. So there did seem to be a slant that males seem to be more perpetrators, but doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many. The point is, every victim needs to get justice. It doesn't matter if there's one female perpetrator and all of the others male. Even one female perpetrator needs to be held to the same account as men.
And also we need to protect men from false accusations of rape. You know, there needs to be some sort of punishment for when you can confirm that a woman was falsely accusing you of rape. There needs to be something, a deterrent for women to falsely accuse men of rape, because now it's freebie. You can do that whenever you feel like. And
hold on. Let me point something out to Blaise for a minute. You're in STEM. The S in STEM stands for science. The most. Now I don't know about you, but in all my science classes, the number one thing they keep telling us, whether it's sociology or psychology or physics, that surveys are the weakest form of evidence, because it requires that people give an honest answer, that people give an answer at all, and for several other factors. A lot of men aren't capable of admitting even to themselves that they've been raped, because they have so much pressure to be stronger, to be non-vulnerable, because the moment you show any form of vulnerability, you're fucking dead.
That might be true, but unfortunately the surveys are the best evidence that we have.
Yeah. And another thing,
you can't use the police because not enough get reported.
Well, we don't know how many haven't been reported because they haven't been reported.
So the UK
it's an unknown.
So you can compare how many women, or how many people said that they have been victimised versus the police reports, and that's how they estimate, and they do take that into account in their estimations. I would also like to
point out that in this case, because the survey was run by Mary Koss, that it cannot be taken credibly.
So I'm talking about the UK crime survey for England and Wales, and the CDC one.
The CDC one I would say we have to throw out.
Neither of them, the CDC one, you want to throw out the only one that actually asks men if they've been made to penetrate. That's the only evidence that is out there.
It isn't. The one that I have is not from the CDC.
I would like to see that one as well, then, please.
Okay, I'll pop it up here in a second.
The one from the CDC is the only official one I'm aware of.
It's the one that
I read through it, and it seems. So I'm reading through it at the moment. I'm only about halfway through it.
Okay.
But it does seem to be pretty good. They really put a lot of time. Leave that alone. They put a lot of time and effort. They really put a lot of training into it. They asked a lot of things, and they it seemed like it was done pretty well, and they tried to get as much out of it as possible.
Okay, are you
taken really seriously? I'm not seeing anything.
It should be my screen share.
Nope, I can still see your face.
Okay, hold on. Oh, that's why I didn't click the button share. I just clicked on it. All right, do you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a completely different study outside of the CDC. As a matter of fact, I believe it is more recent.
Yeah, the CDC one is quite old, and I'm surprised they did imply that they were going to do it more often. And it was released in 2010. So,
I believe this one was either 12 or 14. I'm not entirely sure.
I'll certainly be interested in contrasting and comparing those.
Yes, I will try to find the web link that I found these on, but it's been elusive since I originally found it. Do you see where I say more women, 97.5%, than men, 93.5%, had experienced unwanted sexual activity? More men, 62.7%, than women, 46.3%, had experienced unwanted intercourse. Oh, I love how they worded that. Unwanted intercourse. That's a perfect way to word it. Unwanted
That's what I always say about wording of. So what a lot of surveys will do, so I've studied political science. I have a degree in it, and so I know a lot about like how they do surveys and stuff like that. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say unwanted sex, and then later on in the survey they'll change that to mean rape or something like that. Well, they'll start getting someone's mind thinking about unwanted sex. And say, have you had unwanted sex, or have you been raped? And then they kind of like equate the two, you know. So then you also get situations where it's like, did you have sex where like you regretted it the next morning, and then they turn that into the person's mind turns that into rape as well during the survey. So that's another thing that surveys when you have a certain kind of wording tend to be inaccurate, but like Blaise said, it's pretty much the best form. That it's the only thing we have really in terms of statistics for that. There's no really like, even if you went up to guys and had anecdotal evidence, I don't know if you'd really get anything different.
So yeah, we definitely have newer studies than the CDC one by Mary Koss. Now, if that one you're reading is not by Mary Koss, I might actually be interested in taking a look at it.
Well, it was released by the CDC, and if it was done by Mary Koss, why did they ask? Have you? Yeah, they made a big deal about the made to penetrate thing.
Okay. If it's from 2010, chances are it's not Mary Koss. The Mary Koss one's, I believe, pretty old.
It's the intimate sexual vibe. I can't remember what it's called.
Well, I don't know. I'm still hesitant to trust sources from the CDC. And that may be a genetic fallacy, but when you have a history of putting out bogus fucking information for a political agenda, that really makes me not want to trust you. And like I used to trust them 4 times. I used to think they were a credible source of news, and then I keep seeing them lie and lie again, and be found to be full of journalistic unintegrity.
So yeah, it does concern me. Some of the ways that they've represented some of their data is alarming and concerning. But they do have the raw data there, and they're the first ones who have asked men, have you made to penetrate someone? And then they even actually look at whether it was a male or female, and that's where this 70 to 80% came from. But yeah, surveys are not ideal. They have flaws. Any study has flaws. There's really bad at echo. Who's echoing?
You know, I noticed another thing that's we'll move on to the next thing. I think is that because I know we talked about this, is attaching the word rape to other things to make what you're doing sound worse. So like stair rape, or what are the other ones? There's like, you know, all types of things.
Yeah, let's cover the stair rape. I want to cover that one because I had a really fucked up conversation with someone on that.
Yeah.
And I still have the tweets that I saved, right? So I'm going to find them. But while I'm looking for them here, she said, and telepathic rape. Oh, this was, I actually have this screenshot right fucking here.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you guys see this? Telepathic rape. I really hate to think about how many guys must have masturbated to me during my lifetime. I find the thought of this to be extremely disturbing, and there's nothing I can do about it, which really sucks. So if you're one of these people, please try not to telepathically rape me anymore. I wish it was a crime to do stuff like that. # Stop Telepathic Rape 2014.
That
Won't hide that people find you sexually attractive.
Yeah, oh no.
The fact that they want to make babies with you. Oh god, that must be so terrible.
Better just go. Or, like, you guys remember that video that came out, like, 2 years ago? The catcalling one? Which, by the way, no catcalling in it. And
that was so
a lot
stupid.
of women that I know were talking about it, like, oh, see, this happens to us all the time, and yada, yada, yada. And they were using terms like stare rape for that. Like, oh, there's another video that came out. It's like, oh, I know I dressed provocatively or yada, 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 but that doesn't give you the right to, like, check me out, basically. It's almost like, okay, so I'm going out.
Why are you wearing something that draws people's attention to you if you then moan that? Now, to be fair, so when I was young,
yeah.
So I was going to give you an anecdotal story about when I was a young lass. So I would have been like 14 or 15, and it was a hot day, so I had like proper short shorts on, like you could basically see my ass. And I walked into the local town. And I did have someone honk at me, like in the car as they went past, and I felt really horrible, and I was quite disgusted by it, and it made me feel really degraded. And actually, I stopped wearing such short shorts and started covering up more of my legs, and it stopped. So you know, what's appropriate? Should I just be allowed to wear anything? Should I be allowed to walk down the street naked and not expect anyone to comment on it?
According to Brittany Simons, yes.
Yeah. Or do you recognise the fact that how you dress and how you portray yourself?
When you go outside dressed a certain way, you've made a conscious decision that you're assuming anybody's going to stare at you. See, a lot of what I hear the argument is, oh, we don't dress this way for you to look at us. We dress this way to feel sexy. It's like, okay, well, you only
then when people see you as sexy, don't moan about it.
Exactly. You only feel sexy when you're perceived as sexy.
Here's what I said. First of all, sexual harassment is defined by any unwanted sexual attention. If you're showing your cleavage to be sexually attractive, it is not sexual harassment for me to look at them. Okay?
No,
you are publicly displaying something you just told me you want people to look at. Because no one dresses attractively for nobody to look at. You don't dress as sexy as possible to sit on the couch all weekend. You dress sexy and then you go out in public.
So what did I do in this situation for me? I modified my behaviour. I took personal responsibility. I have no control over others. I cannot demand the world change for me. I modified my behaviour and I was happier for it.
Well, I'll tell you this though. Had I seen you around town dressed with where your ass cheeks are hanging out, I am going to change my behavior because I'm not going to sit in any seat you sit on because I'm going to assume the seat is now unsanitary. Because your ass cheeks are something you also put on a toilet seat, and that's ew.
Yeah, this is the problem with a lot of modern feminists is what they do instead of telling women to modify their behavior or anything like that. They want
take
men
any
to
responsibility.
Their natural sexuality, and there's almost like feminism almost has an attack on like what is male sexuality because they want you to not look at them. They want you to change the way that you have sex with them. It's like for a lot of men though, looking at a woman who's dressed in a certain way is natural. It's not a thing that they think about. Having sex with a woman where you are not necessarily raping her, but where you're probably in more so control is also kind of a natural thing. So you're almost trying to modify the way or change or so I hear a lot of people when they say, when we were talking about gay rights before in this nation, oh, get out of our bedrooms. But yet when we're talking about the way men have sex, all of a sudden our government wants to get into the bedroom again. And I think that needs to stop. At
the end of it comes down to control. Feminism is trying to control women and men. It's a lot of the outcome feminists particularly, it's about control. Anita Saki says, I don't agree with choice feminism. Women should not choose what makes them happy. They should choose what I think is best for women.
You have to learn to be a feminist. She actually said that. No kidding.
Yes. No kidding. So first she said that patriarchy gives you a pre-approved palette. So women are limited by the patriarchy's pre-approved palette of choices and careers. Women shouldn't be allowed to choose for themselves because there's some choices that harm women, so there's some choices that we will allow and some choices that we won't allow, and somehow that isn't patriarchy.
You know what I found?
Like, seriously, I'll have to get the name for you. It was when she was at the Sydney Opera House.
Exactly.
The people who hate porn, right? The people who hate porn the most, right? And these sexy bikini shots and like Sports Illustrated and everything else, right? The people who hate this the most are people you wouldn't want to fuck in the first place. People who are unattractive or who believe they are unattractive really hate pornography because it takes sexual power away from them. They want to decide what other people can and cannot wear so that they can seem more attractive. Because if a woman is sexy and naked and spread out and showing all her beautiful parts, somehow that's oppressive to women? What
well,
the
I think
fuck?
what's happening here is they realize what their goal is they think that they realize that men enjoy that kind of thing, and they want to take that away from men because they feel like it's at the expense.
No, they just want to take it away from the other woman. They claim they want to take it away from men because it's harmful to women if men think that way, right?
I think.
Here's the argument I'm kept
I think they want to take that away from men.
They
For
say
example,
young boys see this.
The Dead or Alive game that came out, right?
Yeah.
Those aren't even real women. Those are video game characters.
Well, they're not for straight women. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but they're video game characters, and those feminists that do that, they know that those are video game characters. What they object to is the fact that men view that and are turned on by it. It does something sexual.
And what do men do when they're turned on by that?
They don't like that. That's what they don't like. They have a war.
Hold on, AJ. Let's investigate this. What do men do when they find these animated characters attractive? What do they do?
They could do a number of things. They could just look. They could jerk off to it. It doesn't.
They jerk off to it. And when a man
jerks
off to something, right? When a man jerks off to something, what has he done? Biologically speaking, what has he done?
He's wasted his sperm.
Yes, he has expended his sexual need, right? But women want to fill that sexual need for men. But in order to feed that need, they want something in return first. Again, this goes back to power. Because if he's jerking off at that anime softcore porn, he's not buying me dinner. He's not taking me out to the movie. He's not doing things that I want him to do for me, or I'm willing to give him sex. Again, it's all about power.
I see your point. I definitely see your point. But I'd say that's at least not the only goal, because men are still going to do those things whether porn is around or not, because the desire to actually have real sex with a real woman is greater than the desire to just jerk off. You know what I mean?
Not necessarily. Sometimes the price of pussy is just too goddamn high.
Right, sure. But most men are willing to kind of pay at least a little bit of a price for pussy, because the idea of having sex with a woman that you're attracted to, having actual sex with that woman, it is more alluring than watching.
Well, it is for the older generation. For the younger generation, that's not so true anymore.
I love all these massive generalizations that we're making.
It is a bit. That's why I say not all men, not all.
Yeah.
But
well, here's the thing: all generalizations are completely wrong, including this one.
The aggregate of men will still take real vagina over the porn if they have the option. Like, if you have the option of fucking the girl that you're watching,
well, if that were true,
watching her,
how do you explain MGTOW growing in numbers?
because the price has become too
but
high.
MGTOW doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to have sex either.
No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right in that sense. But they're not willing to go out of their way for women either. They're like, hey, if we have sex, fine. But I'm not getting married to you. I'm not going to spend all my money on you. I'm not going to wait on you hand and foot. I'm not going to hand you my testicles just because you're a woman. That's MGTOW, essentially.
I like MGTOW because, it depends which form, because there's loads of it. I like the version of MGTOW that believes in self-actualization, and because I think that was good for everyone. So I encourage men to be MGTOWs who self-actualize, who don't put themselves under the thumb of women, and to hold women to a higher standard. It's going to make women better.
You know what You know what ruins it for a lot of men though is that there's other men out there that are willing to pay a high, steep price for pussy and not get it. So they're that end up getting friend zoned, and a lot of women hate that term friend zoned because they think, oh, it's not your fault you're friend, or it's not my fault you're friend zoned, it's your fault. But it is also and I'm not saying it happens to both men and women. I know. But the thing is, you have a dynamic where one person is realizing that the other person is almost doing everything for them to get with them, but that they know that in their mind that they are not going to get with that person. So what ruins it for a lot of men who try to get with said woman is that she already has someone in her life that's contributing pretty well to it, doing a lot of things for her, driving her around, doing yada, yada, yada. So you almost have to step up your game from that if you want to sleep with her. So that's still, so MGTOW, as powerful as MGTOW can get, the fact that those kinds of guys still exist, that do everything that they can and still get themselves friend zoned, kind of makes it hard for MGTOW to really take off. Because men want to have sex. Most men want to have sex.
So there's been a question, what is MGTOW? So MGTOW is men going their own way. And it's men who know, basically, they've removed themselves from the dating pool. They're not interested in following women. They're not interested in actively pursuing them. They just want to crack on and get on with their lives. So I also would like to say that my husband and I, we've done a ramble on the friend zone because we've both had different ends of this scale. So you've had very much the male, so you were like my husband, had very much the male thing. As a woman who's had to friend zone people, it's quite a different story, because I've lost so many really good friends who didn't understand that I was not sexually interested in them. I did not want anything from them. We were friends, and that was it.
Well, my argument is that those weren't really good friends in the first place. They just wanted the sex from you. And they disguised themselves as really good friends just to try to get that because they thought that might work. So you didn't really lose any really good friends.
Hold on.
You weeded out someone who could have been a true friend. Oh, I'm going to say this about MGTOW.
That's a false dichotomy. Here's another possibility, AJ. It could have been unrequited love. An unrequited love that you come to the realization will never come to fruition is worse than a kick to the balls.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's not just sex that usually when a guy gets himself friend zoned, it's not just sex that they're looking after. It's they actually want a relationship with this person, and they friend zoned themselves even, and kind of recognizing that that person doesn't maybe like them, in order to kind of do this pseudo relationship with them, where they're really good friends with you. So I know for a lot of women, they feel like I've lost a really good friend. But what you've actually lost is someone who viewed you as kind of in a relationship with them in their own mind. And then I want to say this about MGTOW real quick. So MGTOW, even going a little bit further, is men basically taking themselves out of the dating and marriage pool. But that's about it. At least that form of MGTOW. There's other forms, but I think the biggest form of MGTOW...
I talked to MGTOWs who were so fucking stupid. They kept going in the same logical fucking circle of reasoning again and again. They said, well, okay, so not all women are like that. There's some really good women out there, blah, 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 but you'll never find a good woman because there are no good women out there. I'm like, dude, you just fucking contradicted yourself in the same fucking paragraph.
Like, there are good women out there.
How do you not realize how stupid this is?
Well, their argument is there are so few women that are worth dating that they might as well not exist. You might as well assume and act as if you're never going to get one and just crack on.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I can maybe see that, but like I was saying that I said I wasn't MGTOW. I had to clarify that I'm MGTOW leaning, right? So I still want to get married, and I still want the wife, the whole wife and kids package, right?
Right.
I still want that, but I'm not willing to just go with Mrs. Right now. I'm going to wait until I meet Mrs. Right. So if I meet a woman, right, like my mom, right, who was a virgin when she met my father, never got a divorce, stuck with him thick and thin, never cheated on him, always been there for the family, really strong, really smart, extremely educated, then yeah, I might marry this person. Right?
So I'm assuming that you're holding yourself to the same standard because someone who's like that is going to have their own expectations for you to fulfill.
Yeah, and I expect to fulfill some of those expectations. And I'm not saying like that the woman, perfect woman for me would have to have all those things, right? But I'm just listing a bunch of qualities that my mother has that I'm also looking for in a mate. And some of this may sound like the Oedipus complex, and a little bit of it is. Like girls go after men like their fathers, boys go after like for their mothers if they have good mothers, right? And I'm not talking about my biological mother here. I'm talking about my other mother.
Right. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to suggest that leads on into this massive argument that Khan and I are about to have.
No. There's still other things we need to go into before we hit that.
I'm just concerned about time. How long are we going for?
I still have time before I have to leave for church. Today, well, a couple of weeks ago, I'm at church and I see a sign that says, "A day at the races." And I'm like, oh shit, this is so cool. And I go over there and it's not about the Marx Brothers, so I instantly, my heart dropped to the floor. But so I volunteered anyway. I volunteered to watch the kids today while everybody else is gambling on which horse will win the race. So it's actually about, racing.
It's interesting church would do a gambling event. That's weird to me.
His church sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For those of you who don't know, I go to a Universalist Unitarian church.
Okay.
And what a Universalist Unitarian church is, it's a combination of two churches, the Universalists and the Unitarians. Now, the Universalists believe that God is so loving and great that he would never condemn anyone to hell for all of eternity. That basically hell is where you go to earn your right to redeem yourself to get into heaven, right? And the Unitarians believe that they are so good that God would never send them to hell.
Okay.
So the idea is for the Unitarian. I mean, this is one of the Unitarian Universalist jokes. And the Unitarians are basically they're the humanists, they're the people who are willing to go out there and feed the hungry, shelter the needy, do all this altruistic stuff. And one of the things that they did was back when they were still like realtors would not sell houses in white neighborhoods to black people, even though it was against the law to do that. Right? People in my church would go out, buy houses in white neighborhoods, turn around and sell them to black people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a very liberal church. All denominations, all creeds from any religion is welcome at the church, or no religion is welcome at the church. We did have a secular humanist reverend.
Agnostics, don't you? You have atheists and agnostics going to church with you. I find that concept mind-blowing.
Blaise, we had a secular humanist reverend, which is basically code word for an atheist reverend.
I would have to say I am an atheist, but I would actually go check out that church just based off the message alone. I'd be interested.
In your area.
I've told Khan that if I ever come visit, he's going to have to take me to his church. So, yeah.
Oh, that sounds.
I'm going to look him up.
I can't do that. You're married. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Actually, it's funny because the Easter The Easter sermon was so fucking good. I threw every penny I had in my pocket, every dollar, every penny into the collection plate. I was like, this is better than the last movie I saw. It was that fucking good.
Anyway,
and we all got, everyone
topic?
got Slinkies at the end. After the sermon, there was a whole, like, you know, Calvin and Hobbes, like, red wagon full of Slinkies inside of it. Everybody got one. It actually had to do with the sermon. He says, in the middle of the sermon, he goes, I was going to hand these out at the beginning of the sermon, but then I realized you'd all be sitting there playing with the thing, like, with the Slinky, like.
Yeah, that would just be annoying.
And anyway, no one would pay attention to the sermon, so you can pick them up on your way out. And yeah, it was a really good sermon. I actually filmed last Sunday my whole church, the whole thing, every wall, everything that they put up. 24th is going to be the 60th anniversary for this specific church. So it's a big deal. A lot of people are showing up. They're going to do the history of the church. I'm going to see if I can get someone to show me around to each room and each purpose.
Can we get back on your church? I'm sure is thrilling.
Yeah, well, okay. So I'm volunteering later today. I've got to leave probably as soon as this live stream is over. We still have plenty of time because 3 o'clock is when is the 2-hour marker. We can go 3 hours today.
I love how you just assume that we're all going to work to your timetable.
Of course.
I have a
penis.
Maybe we're busy.
Yeah.
If you two were busy, your clothing would be off.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Okay. Well, you guys didn't tell me you guys had events later. The only one who told me they had events was Pike. And Pike said he was going to be here like maybe 15, 30 minutes late, and he's still not here.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me see if he logged in real quick. Nope, no messages. Hold on. Let me type a message to Pike.
I don't have any other than being hungry. I don't have anywhere to be. I just found it amusing to wind you up and be like, really? So
that's what I just messaged to Pike.
I would like to do a couple minutes more on perspectives of the friend zone, because that actually is a big, another feminist issue. That it doesn't have to necessarily do with rape, but it does have to do with perceptions of men. So what I see out of a lot of feminists, out of the idea of friend zone, is that they say things like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my personality wasn't good enough to just be friends with you. Oh, I'm sorry that all you wanted out of me was sex. I'm not just some sex." See, they go, "Oh, see, men just see us as sex objects, yada, yada, yada." I like to say that most people that end up getting friend-zoned are actually probably the guy that unequivocally loves you the most, is willing to do almost anything for you, and really isn't seeking sex. I think most guys that end up getting friend-zoned tend to be guys that want a relationship more than anything. And they tend to be the nice guys. They tend to be the guys that I don't ever see any bad boys get friend-zoned. It's always the really, really nice guys.
So when my husband and I were talking about this, like I say, the Ramble is on my channel. Go and check it out. I'll try and get a link in the description below. So we had a theory that it tends to be guys who aren't very experienced, like the guys who tend to be a little more geeky, a little bit more, and they tend to be the ones that get friend-zoned.
Yeah.
And the friend zone area is very gynocentric. So you have these guys trying too hard, and you have these girls not interested. And the girls, like I say, I've been in a situation where I've genuinely lost 4 or 5 male friends, really good. Some of them were my best mates, and we hung around all the time, and we did everything together. And then, you know, and when they were like, "Oh, well, we should date," and they make the jokes, and I'm like, "No, I'm not interested." We have the conversation. I sat them down. You know, with each of them, I sat them down twice at least each, and by the 3rd time, I'm just like, "You're not respecting the boundaries. I can't do this anymore." Well, and then we had to stop being friends, and it was devastating for me because I don't have many friends.
Well, that actually shows a great amount of respect for you if you think about it, right? Because maybe they couldn't respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Maybe they knew that their infatuation with you was too strong to just be a friend, so they either had to end it or they were going to end up doing something immoral.
I had to end it with them. I was always the one that had to walk away.
So here's
in all of these occasions, and a lot of the time they weren't. It wasn't that. It's just that I was a female in their sphere, and they didn't know many other girls. I was more of an opportunity, and they had more to gain and less to lose by trying to be my partner instead of my friend. So in terms of kudos to other people and things, so by pushing and pushing and pushing, all they had to risk was our personal friendship. But to gain, they could have gained the kudos, the social things with all their other friends. So from their perspective, it was worth the risk.
Yeah.
But because I'm not gynocentric, and I didn't really, I would always hope that all the things they did for me, they did because we were friends, and they would do to any of their other friends. And if I found out that they were treating me special, I would have been really angry and quite upset.
So that's unique from what I've heard. I've never heard a woman say that.
Women can't really be friends, honestly. And I don't mean like they can't be acquaintances. They can be like loosely friends, but when you start going into the territory of your friends, like you're hang out all the time friends, you start
friends
to get
benefits.
Into
well,
the
that
thing
puts
is,
me.
we only do that with women that they are physically interested in. So, and when you start when you get in a relationship with another man, those friends, those male friends that you have, you can't really even talk to them anymore because
I did lose some. There was one that I lost because I got a boyfriend, and then he got really angry. He actually left the country.
Wow.
We were living together. I got a boyfriend. He packed up and left the country.
Wow.
Men, I think there's a thing going on where a lot of women don't understand what's going on. Like, men and women don't really think differently don't really think the same for the most part. They have a lot of different things that go on in their brain. So a lot of women don't understand what's going on in a guy's brain, and a lot of guys don't really understand what's going on in a woman's brain. And a lot of times you make assumptions that they just work the same way as you, but they don't. There's a lot of things that are different. So,
well, I don't think that's entirely true. I think what it mostly is. Hold on. Hold on. Let me clarify. I don't think that it's that men and women think differently or think so differently. I think it's they come to the same table with different preconceptions. Right? Because I left the room a minute ago to get my human sexuality textbook for just this conversation.
Right.
And within the first chapter, it talks about the communication between men and women. Mm-hmm. And I was going to get it, and I can't because it's full of cobwebs and bug shit. And I was like, oh, okay, I can't handle this. Two-way OCD for this. But in it, in the first chapter, it says that there's a man and a woman at a in front of a counselor. Like a marriage counselor, and he talks to the woman, and the woman says he won't open up emotionally to me. I want him to be intimate with me, and he won't. He refuses. Yeah. All he ever wants to do is have sex with me. So then the counselor goes to the man and says, "Okay, what's your issue?" He goes, "She says she wants me to express my love for her, and I keep trying, to have sex with her, but she keeps turning me away."
Yeah.
So for the guy, being intimate is sharing physical and emotional love, right? It's sex. Mm-hmm. She's thinking he just wants to get his rocks off and be done with her, but that isn't it. Mm-hmm. This is his way of showing that he loves her, but she's not seeing that because she's thinking it's just I'm an object, I'm a physical.
There's probably an element of that, but I think for the most part. Men and women have different biological needs, biological.
That I'll agree with.
Our brain works differently based on our biological wants and needs, and on top of that, so you have situations where, like the friend zone, where a woman is thinking that, okay, so he wants to be friends with me, he's really good friends, but the guy is not necessarily thinking that way. And you get this clash of misunderstanding. And that's why I say, for the most part, if a guy is hanging out with you a lot, he's probably physically interested in you if you're a woman.
Which really sucks for me, because most of my friends are male, and throughout my life, most of my friends have been male. So that then makes my life quite difficult.
It does. It definitely does when the majority of your friends are male, because typically, and I'm going to say this is probably something feminists probably might agree with me on, or at least outcome feminists. Men can't handle really a friendship with most women. Most men can't handle a friendship with women without it turning into something, without them wanting it to be something more. That happens a lot, and I think most men even become friends with a woman because they're too afraid to actually say that they like them. So they do like this pseudo relationship where they're not really dating them, but they get to hang out with them all the time. So that's a lot of time what ends up happening in the friend zone. And it's men with good intentions. Like typically, if you get into a friend zone with a man, he's probably going to be the guy that treats you the best and loves you the most.
Yeah, he's the one you're going to call at 2 a.m. because your boyfriend just broke up and he's a bastard, right? And he's like, oh, look, cool, she called me. I'm her best friend, right? Maybe now she'll realize that I'm the one worthy for her, right? Because a lot of times, from my experience, from what I've had to deal with, is they feign interest in you, not just being friends, but they expect you to be there like in a relationship way, but not in a sexual way, right? Like, oh, I like you as a friend. I just want us to be friends, but let me call you at 2 a.m., which I never do to any other friend because I know they're sleeping, right?
Yeah.
I guess you could call her a friend with benefits.
To a female friend as well.
Huh?
It might not be in her mind. So for me, it was I would treat these people as friends. These men were my friends, and I would treat them the same. So it's potential that she would actually phone someone at 2 in the morning if she thought that was appropriate.
Well, here's the male perspective on this. So when you are getting friend zoned, because I've been friend zoned before, I know most of my male friends have been friend zoned before. Some of my friends still get friend zoned because they're just stupid. But when you're talking to a girl and you're talking to her a lot and you're getting deeper and deeper into the friend zone, what often ends up happening is that she might give flirtatious clues to you, which you take as, oh, she might actually be interested, but I'm too afraid to really find out because I don't want to go there yet. So it just keeps getting worse and worse. So like, if you have a situation where you're out with your female friend and you go to the beach and she jumps on you and you're in the water because she thinks she's being playful, but in your guy brain right here, you're like, oh my gosh, she wants me. So
Dude,
you know,
no. That is her flirting with you. That is her flirting with you.
That is her flirting with you.
That is her flirting with you.
Yeah.
Gay best friends are great because.
And I think a lot of women know that they do this too. A lot of girls that friend zone guys know that when they're being extra flirtatious with them, they get more of what they want from them.
So yeah, there are women. Yeah. There are definitely women who take advantage and use this hypergamy to their advantage to get out of men.
Yeah. Now I'm not saying all of them do that, but there are definitely plenty.
There are definitely women who definitely do that.
Hold on. A lot of guys, what you just said, have caught on to what you said. So they'll lie about being gay, right? Because it increases their chances of getting laid by the person who friend zoned them. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's an ego thing. Oh, look, I turned a gay guy straight. That's how sexy and woman I am.
That's interesting. I haven't encountered anything like that yet, but man, I don't doubt that it happens.
Well, dude, that's what he did in Kick-Ass.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I'm accepted as a gay friend. Sure, and it worked because he got laid. Why? Because that's how it fucking works. It's like this, okay? If you're in high school, right? You're in high school, and there's a woman you want to have sex with, right? You find out who her best friend is and have sex with her, you're in.
Right.
You see, and this is why hypergamy in the long run, you should never marry for hypergamy.
You should what?
Never marry for hypergamy.
Hypergamy.
Yeah. Is that how you pronounce it?
It's just the accent.
What's a hypergamy?
So that's when women look for riches and men look for health. It's the baseline sexual evolutionary attraction.
Okay, I got you.
Do not marry.
It's kind of biologically how it goes, though. Women look for clues of status, and men look for clues of wealth, authority, and men look for clues of biological health, ability to foster many babies, ability to have many babies. Just biologically, that's what goes on in the brain. You know.
So recognize it and then catch yourself. Don't marry into that. That's the worst thing because it's not real. It doesn't last.
Yeah, or I mean, if you're gonna marry into that, at least let there be something more to it than that.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so my biological mother, right?
Yeah,
she married a man. She married a man. Her second husband was twice her age, more than twice her age. As a matter of fact, her second husband was older than her mother.
Right.
Best marriage she could ever fucking hope for. Best fucking marriage she could ever hope for. Not because of what the money he made or the hardworking kind of guy he was, but because of how much he loved her. As a matter of fact, I have such deep respect for my ex-stepfather that I made a tribute video to him. I showed it to my biological mother before I uploaded it to YouTube, and she started to cry. She thought it was really, really good, and from that, I put it up there. And I will put a link to that video down below. That man has one of the highest respects for anyone that I have, because he defended my mother. And he really took care of her, and he really, really loved her even after the divorce, which was her fault, and she's still hating herself for that stupid fucking mistake. But that's neither here nor there, and I just wanted to point that out, that the age is just a number. Just because someone's old or has money does not mean that there isn't a lot of love there, because I fucking see it.
Make sure that you do marry for love,
the right
respect,
reason,
friendship.
The right reason.
And not
absolutely.
Because
so I
she's
mean, like,
pretty and he's rich.
Yeah.
Those things
so I think
do not
like,
last.
Exactly. If you have those things also, where you marry her and she's hot, and you marry him and he's well-to-do, he's pretty successful, but there has to be something more to it than that. Yeah, that's fine and dandy, but there has to be something that is greater there. There has to be some sort of emotional connection, some sort of chemistry, some sort of
admiration.
Looks fade. Yeah, exactly. Looks can fade, and money can go away.
But the heart never dies.
Yeah, but the heart never dies. There you go.
Until there's a heart attack.
Yeah, then the heart doesn't die.
So of course, the easiest way to know that you're not marrying for hypergamy is for a guy to not have a lot of riches, or for a woman to not be hugely pretty or not healthy, and then still finding someone.
Right. But that's not really how the brain works, though. We don't really we look for as good as we can get.
Well, you know what? I'll say this, though. You know what? That cake may look really, really, really tasty, but if it was made by Typhoid Mary, you might not want to eat it.
We also talk about the crazy hot scale in the Mendoza line, and there's probably one for guys that's like the rich scale of, I don't know, rich asshole scale. I have no idea.
The thing is that the topic we're on at the moment could be a whole video in and on itself.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on.
Yeah, I think we could definitely tackle that at a different.
And like I put in the chat, it reminds me of what John and Paul said. The apostles? No, the Beatles. All you need is love. Paul McCartney actually said that when his first wife died, he said he didn't lose his wife, he lost his girlfriend. Which I thought was an amazing way to say goodbye, because they've only spent one night apart, and they vowed never to do that again. And I thought that was, to me, that was incredible.
Right.
So, yeah, all right, going on to other forms of rape. All right, so retro rape, not real rape. Scare rape. How fucking dare you compare being looked at? to rape. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Seriously, the woman who used the term stair rape with me the first time, she said, I said, it's not harmful to be looked at. Your uncomfortableness is your problem. That is not harm. And she goes, who are you to define harm? I said, I'm nobody. The dictionary fucking defines me. Okay? You don't.
You know what's funny is these people love the dictionary until it's inconvenient.
Yeah. Don't you know it?
Yeah.
They like anything that supports their narrative is amazing and wonderful, and you should always use that. And then as soon as it becomes anything, not just the dictionary, as soon as facts,
well, they're going to redefine it.
Yeah.
Because words change because of how you use them until it's inconvenient to you prove that the word isn't being used as they're using it. You know, they're such fucking hypocrites and fucking opportunists. It's sad as hell. But here's the thing.
Kind of impressive, though, aren't they?
No,
like
it's not.
It's just and the mental gymnastics and what they're trying to achieve and what they have achieved. You have to admit it's
they've actually achieved quite a bit. Honestly, their tactics work.
They're as impressive as creationists who keep using the same logical fallacies over and over again. These feminists use less logic than a creationist.
So pretty impressive. The men are just looking at these people and you just go, what?
Yeah. But it works somehow.
This level is sad, not impressive.
Somehow they've effectively lobbied politicians to bow to their will. So I don't know.
Well, that's because they know they claim to be victims, right? But they're vipers in your underwear. They're rattlesnakes in your underwear. That's what they are. They try to shame to death people, right? This is why every time I have an argument with a feminist on Twitter, it really goes down to this, right? It all boils down to this. First make false claim. Then they claim you're a misogynist for not agreeing with their claim, that they have no evidence to back up. Then they talk about your behavior. They said, does your mother know about your behavior online? I said,
or
yes!
a classic one that they do is whenever you make a claim, they want you to back up your claim, and then they'll make a counterclaim to your claim saying they don't still believe you.
No, they'll just say they don't like your source.
Evidence. And then they say, I shouldn't have to do your Googling for you. It's like, okay, well, you're already basically outing yourself that you don't know what you're talking about. But like I said, they've had an effective job at, for example, manspreading laws in like New York, on New York subways. They have like that little sign that they do now. No, everybody's like not acknowledging the fact that men have to sit on a subway seat in a certain kind of way based off their anatomy. Well, guess what? Fuck logic, fuck facts. We'll just go ahead and paint this narrative.
I need an artist.
Now guys are actually being arrested.
Artists out there, I need your help. There's a lot of images I want to create, but I don't have the artistic capability of doing them. So if someone would like to create some art for me, I would gladly put you on the show and stuff, and pimp out your work. But I'm definitely going to need one of yours help. I might go to me or Ryan, because I know he's an artist. He might be able to help me with these. But what I want to do is I want to create an image of a guy on the subway squishing a woman into the seat with his legs as close together as possible and say, I'm sorry, I can't spread my legs to keep balance because otherwise it would be oppressing you. While he's pressing her against the side of the wall.
Pressing, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's such absurdity, and we don't ever, in this society anymore, listen to, like, if a man has something to say. We only listen to the women because they're the sensitive little flowers.
Okay, we're going rabbit hole down again. We're going down the rabbit hole again. I want to get back to what is and what isn't rape. Okay? These are great discussions. They're just really off topics.
Yeah, we'll go back to...
Okay, so what other claims of rape do we have from feminists?
Just basically anything they don't like. Birth rape.
Oh, there's also rape.
No, that's not rape. There's
something else that was in my head that I kept trying to bring up, and I kept forgetting it. God damn it, I hate it when that happens.
Thing, that's what they are.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, that reminds me. Hold on. That reminds me. I was watching this feminist years ago, right? I was flipping through YouTube things, and this feminist comes up, and I'm going to paraphrase what she said because I'm more articulate than she is. Big surprise. She said, if you nag your husband for sex, or sorry, this says, if men nag their wives for sex, and the wives relent, that husband is a rapist.
Well, no, she consented.
Yeah, so it's not rape. But since she's nagged, she's pressured into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
Still
so that
consent.
makes it rape.
Still consent.
So here's
women,
the thing.
Women need
Hold on.
to learn how to be a bit, put your foot down and be a bit stronger. And
here's the thing. I have a counter to it, and I actually mentioned this in my human sexuality class, right? I said, okay, if that's true, if you nag your husband to do chores, and he relents, you're a slave owner.
Yeah, pretty much.
By that same fucking logic, if you're a slave master, if you nag your husband to do chores and then he relents.
I do have to, at this point, bow out because I have to get ready for work.
Okay.
It's been good.
Remember to watch the rest of the episode because Blaise and I are about to strongly disagree on a topic.
Okay. What is the topic?
The topic is marital rape actually rape or not?
Okay.
Yeah, can we do that now? Because
yes, I think we covered everything else.
I don't know if I can really. I am married though, but I don't know if I can really contribute to that just because it's based off definitions. So I don't know. But I think you can rape someone while you're married to them.
Well, you'll see the argument.
Yeah.
So Kanye's going with the stance that you've already consented when you signed the marriage contract. That's his permanent consent.
No. You're strawmanning my argument.
Okay, well, you're going to have to explain. That was what I took from what you were explaining earlier.
Okay.
Well, I do think this though. When you do get married and you sign that contract, you recognize sex as part of the deal. But whatever forms of rape that there are, which a lot of them are bullshit, but let's just go to the top form of rape, which is like forcing someone at gunpoint or something like that if they don't want to, would still be considered rape. I'm just thinking about the other things like saying like if she drinks too much and then you have sex with, like, you've kind of, like, when you're married to someone, when you're talking about like yes means yes laws, I don't think you need that anymore.
But then it's the same with any form of rape. It's exactly the same. If it was rape out of the law, like genuine, proper, everyone's going to agree it was rape out of the marriage, it should still be rape in the marriage.
Right, so we're not disagreeing on that, right?
Hold on, I just read something on Twitter that's right on the fucking topic here.
Right.
Feminist Flow retweeted Master Miller. It says, I got raped today. So today I decided to take the bus. That was a bad idea. There was a white cis man on the bus. I saw him look at me. I know for a fact he was imagining me having sex with him. I didn't say he could do that. He might as well have fucked me right there on the bus. Fuck white cis men.
See, like, I think these people use their feminism as a way to just explain their hatred of white.
It's a way to say I'm oppressed, therefore I have an excuse not to do anything.
I think they really
patriarchy is the excuse feminists use to not do anything with their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they can't because of men. Hashtag men.
Yes, it's all of my failings are clearly your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
How dare you exist?
How can you do anything with all that semen sticking into the kitchen?
I think whatever has gone wrong with me is just your guys' fault, man. I love it. You can never be wrong. How can you ever be wrong if that's your logic?
I mean, as long as you stick your head in the sand and go blah 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 blah, which is what I hear what I see most feminists do.
Oh, but that solves so many problems. you know, all my problems have gone away because I don't have to pay attention to them. I don't have any personal responsibility, so none of it matters. It's not my fault. So, you know, it's fine. My life is so much stress-free and wonderful and amazing. I can just flow through it quite happily, and I'm happy because nothing is my fault.
Exactly.
But they are all your boobs' fault.
Honestly, like, I'm going to start doing it too. It sounds fantastic.
You know what, AJ? we are going to sing you out. Yep, we're going to sing you out.
Okay.
This wee thing, no.
Me and the voices in my head.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Singing me out.
Do your boobs hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulders? Do your boobs hang low?
All right. They don't, but
And I thought we were having a sophisticated conversation.
yeah, we really went down the gutter there. But that's all right.
The other way too. Does your dick hang low? Does it wobble to and fro? Can you tie it in a knot? Can you tie it in a bow? Can you throw it over your shoulder? Well,
all right.
But anyway, have a good one, AJ.
That's fine. Get ready for work. Well, same time next week, guys. All right. See ya. Bye.
Here at the Bear Brigade, we don't just throw logic at you, we throw horribly sung songs.
That was amusing. Anyway.
Thank you. I am to please.
Go on then, state your premise.
Okay, so a while back I made a video that said, is marital rape real rape or not? And my conclusion was that it's not real rape. I have many...
And you can just hear the audience go, boo!
Yes, I know, I'm a horrible, oppressive white male. But here's the fucked up thing. In the very beginning of the video, I said men rape women, women rape men, men rape men, women rape women. The #1 comment in my video, throughout the comment section, as well as the people who made videos, right, about my video, called me a misogynist for having this point of view. Think about that for a minute. I said marital rape isn't real rape, and that means that I hate women. But as I pointed out in the very beginning of my video, women rape men, men rape women, men rape men, and women rape women. As a matter of fact, I was playing an MMO, and I was talking to this woman, and I actually took a screen cap, but that hard drive died, and I lost all the data on it, so I really wish I could show that image to people, where she was talking about how when she was a little girl, she was raped by a slightly older girl. She was bullied, she was beaten, she was raped by this older girl. She was like, she said she was like 2 or 3 years older than her. And I think she said she was only like, 9 and 11 when this was going on, right? So this happened for years.
But how is that relevant to marital rape, which at the moment in most, I think in the US, they're only recently recognizing.
Yes, they only okay. The point is that I was called a misogynist. Hold on. The point is that everybody rapes everybody, right? Yes. I mean, well, not everybody, but I mean every demographic.
Rape. And under the current US, so my understanding is under the current US definition, a woman can't rape, and you are talking about marital rape. So you are literally just talking, from most people's very strict definition.
Well, first of all, I made it very clear that this wasn't a question of law, that this is a question of reality. So whether it's lawful in your country depends whatever country you're in. Since I was talking in a generic sense, and I brought up many historical references, right? I brought up Romans, and when they had this argument, 1,000 years ago, I brought up other cultures, right? Like in Pakistan, you cannot legally rape your wife, right? But in America, if you can, it is considered rape, right? But it's not when it's the wife forcing the husband to have sex, because women in the United States cannot rape men by the legal definition. And as we pointed out earlier, that the legal definition doesn't necessarily follow with reality, right?
So let's move
but my
on.
point here.
So we're going to define rape as being forced to have sex with against your will without consent. We are going to include female on male rape, and I don't think that's going to matter for the premise. I think that's just matters because you're trying to defend yourself that you're not a misogynist, and I'm not convinced that that's hugely relevant to our discussion.
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm pointing out is how sexist the people in the comment section were for automatically assuming that I hate women because they assumed that it was a female issue when it's not.
Okay, so we've established that that's our definition. So let's move this on. I'm getting quite hungry. And I am really tired. I'm really exhausted. I've had a really long week. So
okay, so here's the issue then. Okay, if two people get married, right, and they never have sex, and 6 months later they want to absolve the marriage, right? An annulment means that the marriage never actually happened. If you never have sex, a judge can throw out the marriage saying that it never happened on just that grounds alone. We call it sex on the wedding night is called, oh fuck, I lost the word.
I know what you mean, though.
Right out of my fucking head, man. Yeah, that word just went right out of my head.
But you know, it doesn't have to be on the night.
Hold on. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be on the wedding night. It actually doesn't. But whenever you first have sex with your spouse, right?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, I hate that, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, God,
you'll remember it move on. You'll remember it in about 30 seconds.
Well, anyway, what that word means is finalizing.
Yeah.
It means finalizing the marriage. So you're not even fully married until consummate. That's the word. Until you consummate the marriage, right? Which means having sex. So the second biggest comment in my section was that marriage has nothing to do with sex. If that was even remotely true, we wouldn't have consummating the marriage anywhere in our fucking vocabulary. That concept would be completely null and void in our heads. But it's not. Consummating the marriage has been a huge thing since the conception of marriage itself.
So I agree that there is a level of expectation when you're married that you will have sex at some point, at some points within a reasonable period. And if you don't, you do have grounds for divorce and to leave them.
But not divorce, but annulment.
Divorce or even later, you can have a divorce if you're not having it. It can be one of the reasons, though.
Yeah, it can. And the fact that it is one of the reasons disproves the statement that marriage has nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
Now, marriage may not have anything to do with
marriage. Marriage has an implication that there is an expectation that you will have sex on a reasonable basis, or that you both consider reasonable.
Yeah, there isn't a reasonable expectation of sex.
If one of you can't have sex, then where are you with that?
Well, even if you can't have sex, I say you still have an obligation to fill that person's need as best as you can. Okay, let's say if I had a wife, right, and she was pregnant, I would not have sex with her.
So the whole 9 months?
Yes, I would not have sex with her because I don't want to nut on my kid's head.
You know, that's a massive myth.
Yeah,
it's a huge
it doesn't matter.
It's actually really good for the baby because of the hormones, and it lowers the stress.
To me, it's creepy as hell. As far as I'm concerned.
No, that's a different argument. That's a completely different argument.
Room occupado, okay? It's occupied. The kid's in it. And I'm not, like, if my kid is like 16 years old, I'm not going to have sex in my kid's room when my son is sleeping like 3 feet away from me. I'm not going to do that. That's no. Now, this may be irrational, right? But it still irks me. So I would never be able to do it. Even if I wanted to try, I'd never be able to do it. However, that being said, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't try all other ways to sexually please her, right? That I was able to do. So while I may not, you know, piddle the pond with my equipment, I might piddle her pond with other equipment that one could purchase online or at any, you know, adult store or mall that has a Spencer's.
If she wanted you to actually do penis and vagina and you refused, and she insisted, and then she jumped on you and forced you to, against your will, raping you,
I would not consider that rape. I would consider it a violation, but I would not consider that rape. Now, one thing I'm also not willing to do is anything anal, right? I don't want anything touching my ass. I don't even like the chair right now touching my ass. But if it wasn't for my knees... Okay.
Getting a bit too personal and irrelevant to the conversation.
No, it isn't, because this was actually brought up in the comment section. They said, well, what if a woman decided to shove a dildo up your ass for her sexual pleasure? Wouldn't that be rape? And my answer to that is, again, no. Well, I would feel violated, while I may be very angry at her, I would not consider that rape.
I would count both of those as rape. One of them is
at least I'm consistent, though, in what I believe is and isn't rape, right? Because it's not gender biased, which was my whole point in the beginning of this conversation. But I'm very gender biased on this issue.
Yeah, I would say that it's not a gendered issue. I would still say it's rape, regardless. If you are forced to do to have a sexual encounter, whether it's having something against your will, against your consent, that regardless of if you're married or not, I would still say that's right. A piece of paper, signing a piece of paper does not suddenly magically make your consent in that instance.
Okay. So here's the thing.
Magically not matter.
It's about the oath one gives. And
I'm married and I have not given an oath that my husband can have sex with me whenever he wants.
I didn't say that. Again, that's straw manning what I said.
But no, that is. So if he wants to have sex and I don't, and he forces himself on me because he wants it, and I have no right to deny him that, then how is that different from rape?
Okay.
So he can do that on demand whenever he wants, or vice versa. I could jump on him whenever I want, because they have no right to deny each other.
Blaise, let me respond to that. Here's the thing. And I've used this argument many times, and I have yet to get a consistent answer from somebody. Let's say a man works for 15 years, saves up his money for 15 years to buy the car he's always fucking wanted. I mean, this has been his dream cars since he was like 10 fucking years old. He's never been able to afford it. Saves up for 15 years to buy the car he's always wanted. He buys the car he's always wanted. He tells his wife, I do not want you driving my car. You don't have a very good driving record. You have tons of accidents. This is my baby. I've been saving up for so long. I've been dreaming of this day for so long. Do not drive my car. He carpools every other day to work with a friend. So on every other day he drives his car. On the alternate days, the friend drives the car to their work. Wife car breaks down. She takes his car to go shopping. Is that grand theft auto? The car is in his name, the title's in name, the insurance is only in his name. Did she just steal his car?
I'm not sure exactly what legal thing. I think he could.
I'm not talking about legal. I'm not talking about legal. I'm talking about reality.
Well, I don't understand how this isn't a legal issue.
It is a legal issue. But again, it changes laws depending on where you live. Okay, let's take it with a law.
Is no, because let's just move this on. So if I say no, that's not grand theft auto because they're married and thus they share possessions by law, because that's the whole point of a marriage contract. So they share possessions. So it's as much her car as it is his car.
But
so she does not.
I can say nowhere in the wedding vows did I promise to give everything I own and let her use whatever I want, whatever she wanted.
No, because marriage is a legal contract. You do not have that. By signing the paper, you are signing a marriage contract. The marriage contract is the permission. It goes above your head. What you want and what you say is almost irrelevant.
And the same can be said for sex. Sex and
there is no legal obligation in the law, and the marriage vows are irrelevant. You can say whatever you like. What matters is your name on a piece of paper, registering it under law. It's the law.
Okay, then it's not rape if you live in Pakistan, because in Pakistan their laws say that you have to have sex with your husband,
and that's what they believe. We disagree because we changed the law and we recognized that you can rape your partner.
Okay.
And why should it matter whether you're married or not? What if you've lived with a person for 6 years but you didn't get married?
This is why it matters, because marriage has been and always will be, right, two people creating a union. Right? Marriage is a union.
Yes.
Between two people becoming one. Mind, body, spirit, property, everything. You're supposed to share your lives and everything in it with each other.
But
that's what marriage is. That's what marriage is across cultures. It is mating for life or intending to. The intending to is because we realize that sometimes these marriages end.
But that still doesn't say that one of you can demand the other have sex with them when they like. You do not have. So this is about
most people get married.
Deny sex. So at any point in this, can you say, I don't want to have sex? And if they continue, then that's rape.
Let me ask you this then.
Can you at
rape
any
yourself?
Point? Well, no, because you consent.
That's my point.
My husband doesn't own me, and I don't own my husband.
The only thing you hold on.
So what if he chose to beat me because he owns me? Under what you're saying, an equivalent could be that because he owns me, each other, you can't punch yourself, you can't assault yourself.
Well, actually, they take you away if they think you are a danger to yourself or others.
So yeah, I suppose if you're like that, then yes, you could rape yourself. Because if you're harming yourself.
If you shove a dildo up your own ass and you have to be taken to the hospital because you can't get it out. Do you actually have any idea how many people have foreign objects that they get stuck up their butts? One guy had an electric eel. I'm still posting that story in the down below.
So if you can't rape your partner, then you also can't be done for violence against them, because it's about ownership of the body. My husband does not own the thing. I do not own my husband's body. I have no right to force them to do anything because he is a person. He has his own agency. He has his own thing. He has his own boundaries. I have to get consent to go through that boundary. I don't have to get consent to use the car that we both own.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
I don't own my husband.
Let me ask you a series of questions here. A guy's walking down the street. You've never seen him before. You never met him before. You have no idea who this guy is. He has no idea who you are. He sees you down the street. As he starts to walk past you, he grabs your crotch and keeps on walking. Is that sexual harassment?
I would say that's sexual assault.
I would say it's actually both. Okay, so you're doing the dishes at home. Your husband.
And I'd say harassment is something that's more ongoing. So if he continued to do it, then that'd be sexual assault and sexual harassment, because harassment has to be an ongoing event.
Not necessarily, but it can be. Most of the time, it is an ongoing thing, but it can be. Like if you snap a woman's bra, right? That's considered sexual harassment. I'm interested
to see where this is going. Go on then.
Okay, so your husband walks into the door. You're doing dishes. He comes up behind you. He does a reach around and grabs your crotch. Is that sexual assault? And kisses you on the back of the neck.
It's a different scenario. Those two are not equivalent.
As relationships change, so does the definitions change as what is and what isn't, right?
But if I said, don't touch me today, I'm not feeling very well, I have a headache.
Then you should respect that.
And then if he then did go forth and do something, then that is then sexual assault, and I could press charges because I made it very clear that I didn't consent to that. So yeah, there is a level of implied consent.
You could. However, another scenario could come to fruition, right? So let's say we're talking about parallel universes here for a moment. In one scenario, you say no, I don't want to. I don't feel like it at the moment. I don't want to. He continues to be assertive, as pretty much all men are taught to be, because this is the way we actually get women. If you're not assertive, guys don't get women. Guys who are not assertive do not get women. This is pretty much proven fact for the most part. So in one scenario, you charge him with sexual assault and rape and whatever, and he goes to jail for a few years, whatever. And another parallel universe.
So in that situation, just to clarify.
Hold on. In the other universe, in the other parallel universe, he's assertive. You have sex, and then you really enjoyed it once you started.
It's about consent. Was consent gained? Whether implicitly or explicitly. So we're going with no means no. So if I go, look, I'm tired, and he continues, and I still say, and I push him away, and I go, no, I'm going to sleep now, and then he then continues, then yes, he has started to try and make me. Okay,
have you ever seen the movie The Life of Brian?
So long ago, I don't really remember it.
Okay, there's a scene in there that's really funny. Now, I think it's funny that feminists claim that rape is never funny. George Carlin did his own bit and said that's bullshit. And he said something about Porky Pig raping Donald Duck or some shit. I forget exactly what it was. And he actually made it funny. But there's a scene in The Life of Brian where Brian is talking to his mother, and she's talking about his father being a Roman. And Brian goes, "He raped you?" And she goes, "Well, at first." Do you understand that?
I think that's such a ridiculous. That's why it's funny, because it's so ridiculous.
Well, it's not actually as ridiculous as you think, because I've actually heard this before. A lot of women, apparently, there's a study, right? And I've heard there's a study actually from the Honey Badgers. I'm getting this, I believe, from Karen Strong. She was talking about how women are more likely to not want sex initially, but once they relent and once they start having sex, they become much, much more into it. So the parallel universe things I gave to them,
they can, when they start to have sex, they have consented. They might not have fancied it. And I've had sex with my husband when I was tired and didn't.
So would that be retro not rape then?
No, that's consent. I was pressured into it.
And she doesn't consent. Hold on. If he doesn't consent at first, right? And he starts plugging away anyways.
Then that's rape.
And then she decides that she's enjoyed it, and that it was the better idea to have sex in the first place.
Then that's an extremely, very dangerous place that this gentleman has put himself in, because if it's now Schrodinger's rape, she now then gets to decide whether she presses charges or not. She then, in that situation, but yeah, it is rape. She could legitimately say she was raped.
But she post-consented.
Then
can you do that? Right? Because I've heard of these situations before too. Now, another person on the video.
You could still say that yes, it was rape, but then she decided not to follow through and decided not to report it.
Well, not only that, but she decided that she liked it. So in that scenario, and in that case, that you can actually say that rape, in this particular case, wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And no, I'm not advocating for rape. I'm not a rape apologist.
I was going to say, I'm just going to like...
But what I am fighting against is the no means no. No doesn't always mean no. The fact that we have safe words, the fact that safe words exist,
proves that no does not always mean no.
But
when I was a
I
teenager,
still thought that when you're married, you still have the right to say no and to not
when you're married, whether you sign a piece of paper, or you give a wedding vow, because in ancient Roman times, what they had was something called free marriage. That's when a guy would bring his daughter to another guy and say, do you two want to be married? And they go, sure. And they goes, okay, congratulations, you're now married. And they just filed paper with Rome, and it was completely free. No, not even.
But we are talking about here and now, like
that's true.
The
that's
historical
true.
arguments are interesting.
No, we're talking about. Hold on. Relevant. We're talking about marriage, and when we're talking about marriage, the history of it is just as important as now today, because the things that started marriage still exist in today's marriage.
Well, this is exactly the same as in Pakistan. Legally, they can't rape. It's still technically. If you say that being forced to have sex against your will when you haven't consented is rape, if that is your definition of rape, then it doesn't suddenly disappear just because you're married.
You have, like you said in the UK.
We would say that she has or he has been raped. We would say that even in marriage, but they don't recognize that by their law. Morally, we say that that is rape.
No, morally, you say that's rape. I say that's not rape for the same reason it's not theft. When you get married, you are sharing your lives together. Now, you brought up domestic violence, right? Now, they will put you in a mental hospital if they think you're a danger to yourself or others. So that doesn't necessarily apply, because if you try to harm yourself, they will lock you up to secure you from you. Just similarly, they can lock up your spouse in case they think your spouse is a danger to you, right? So but in the event that you're...
I'm not an object. My husband does not own me.
Okay, first of all, that's a bullshit argument. Hold on, that's a bullshit argument, because you are, in fact, an object, and so am I. Every living being and creature is an object, right? You are also a living person.
I own me. My husband does not own me. I am an object, and
then why do they now? If you're incapacitated and you're hooked up to a life support, why do they go to your husband? He doesn't own you. He can't consent what happens to your body.
Because there are situations where.
Because he does.
There are situations.
That's the fact. They will go to your husband, not your mother and father.
But the moment that while I am in full control, while I have the capacity, so that argument is a bit null and void, because it's only when I lose the capacity do they then go to the next best thing that they can, because we live in the real world.
Right.
While
and,
I have
hold on.
I own myself, and no one has any right to do things to me against my will. Even a medical doctor doesn't have the right to do things against my will.
True. That's called going, for those who don't know, that's called going AMA, against medical advice.
Yeah. But it's still, so if that's...
Now, hold on, let's go back to the car analogy that I used earlier, right? So if you have the man and the woman, right, and the guy takes his car into a shop, let's say he wants it spray painted something really cool on the side, right? And the wife says, no, I want a unicorn on it. And the guy who owns the car says, no, I don't want a unicorn. I want flames on the side.
Well, in this case, they both have ownership. As you established earlier, they both have joint ownership. I have ownership of my body, and I did not relinquish that when I got married. My husband doesn't own me. I don't own my husband. I own me. My husband owns him.
I would disagree.
And
I would say that when you get married,
my husband cannot. So again, while I have the capacity and the ability,
and while the guy has capacity and he's right there in front of the guy who's going to do the spray painting, he's going to do what the owner of the car, the initial owner of the car. Now, if the owner of the car, let's say again, it's the guy.
But they have joint ownership.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I let you finish. Let me finish. You keep claiming that there's joint ownership, right?
Well, yeah, because
I can point to places in the map where the ownership isn't like that. But that's null and void. This is analogy of reality. This isn't a question of sheer law. So if the guy, whether we're talking your culture or my culture, any culture, takes his car in to get it spray painted, and the guy knows that the person who owns the car, directly owns the car, is the husband because his name's on the title, his name's on the lease. Yes, she can claim some kind of ownership at it, but at this place in time, the guy who's going to do the spray painting is going to listen to what the man wants because he owns the fucking car, right? So he's going to put the flames on the side, not the unicorn. Now, if the husband isn't able to be there for whatever reason, right? Let's say he's in a coma now, and she's going to have it spray painted while he's in the coma, and she wants the unicorn, she can legally have the unicorn painted on the side. So the argument still works whether you're talking about sex or property in this case.
But only if the person no longer has the capacity,
right? Because the person
you
have overriding. You do, whether you're talking about property
and they're
or whether
not
you're talking
making
about
that decision. They're making the decision on behalf of the person who is incapacitated.
Exactly.
They don't make
because
the decision
first initial
themselves.
owner has the power in both cases.
So, well, I think that kind of proves more my point.
No, I think it proves mine. Because whether you're talking about a person or property, the person who is the initial
when
owner.
you're talking about rape, at which point both of you have mental capacity, both of you are capable of making decisions themselves, the other person can no longer make that decision for you. Thus, if you say, I don't consent, then the other person cannot just decide against that. So it would then be rape because you have not given consent. So it would be rape.
And I'm saying you have given consent when you got married. You consent, like, okay, in the wedding vows, again, it says you vow in front of God and in front of state. Like you said, signing that piece of paper, you're the one who keeps bringing up the paper. I don't give a rat's ass about the paper. I give a rat's ass about the oath you give to the other person.
That was not the oath I took. And that oath is fairly meaningless.
That oath may be meaningless to you. That oath may be meaningless to you.
So you're saying, so we were just discussing this earlier, you're specifically saying the to have and to hold.
Yes.
And
that
I would
in itself
say,
is a direct euphemism that's been used for thousands of years, directly relates to sex.
And we said earlier that marriage, there is an expectation you will get some sex. That is not an expectation that you will always have
all
sex,
things,
and that you will always have that you have the right to sex every time. There will be some sex, but you do not have the right to demand it whenever you want and to force it upon someone else when they decide.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because one of the people who made a response video to my initial video, I brought up the same car analogy to him, and he cited an article where a woman stole her $30,000 from her husband's safe, right? And he said, well, she got arrested for that, so clearly you don't have ownership over your person's property when you get married to him. And he didn't read the article very closely because she wasn't arrested for theft. She was arrested for signing his name to get a loan out. She used his name to get a loan out.
So she was done for fraud.
Yeah, she was arrested for fraud and a number of other things, right, that were related to that. So, but you don't have ownership over everything, right? So there are circumstances.
I've also heard
even in property it doesn't fit.
I've heard of situations where people have got divorced because someone has taken out a loan. So they've taken out a credit card, built up huge debts, and then the other person discovered it, and there was a divorce as a result.
Okay.
So it's a reason to get divorced.
Okay. You brought up something a minute ago. Oh yeah. There's many reasons. Now we have no fault laws now. Largely because of feminists, because they didn't like that a lot of them would cheat on their husbands and then get nothing out of it. See, the way it's been for thousands of years is men bring property and wealth to the table, while women bring sex. And I don't just mean the physical act, right, the pleasure, but also the children. In Mesopotamia, in my history book, if it wasn't in like 3 different pieces and somewhere around my living room due to circumstances Blaise is well aware of, I would be able to point out to the exact page or it tells that if a woman cheats on her husband, her sentence is usually death. Where if the husband cheats, it's not necessarily death. It's actually something usually considerably lighter, right? And the reason for this, now they say, oh, this is oppression of women, this is oppression of women, but it really wasn't. What it was you were forcing a man to pay for children that wasn't his, to take care of children that belonged to another man, to another man's lineage. So because they didn't have genetic testing at the time, because they didn't have all these things, forcing a man to pay for children that was not his own was considered a horrible, horrible offense. This is why in ancient Rome, again, they argued against making marital sex actual rape, or, well, you know what I mean, right? Because when you get married, she's bringing sex to the table. If she does not bring sex to the table, then that's grounds for divorce. Similarly, especially in Muslim cultures, if he cannot pay for the wife and her children, not their children, it specified her and her children, that he owes her money even if she's working. So if she's working, right, and she's making more money than he is, because let's say he lost his job for 2 months and he can't pay the bills because he's responsible for all the bills, right? If he can't pay, she can take his ass to court and sue him. And they can throw him in prison. And there's all sorts of things that go along with this. Now, the people say, well, this is Muslim culture, it's Sharia law, and blah, 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 blah. I don't care about any of that, because it's not just in Muslim culture. Muslim culture got this from other cultures. This goes way back.
Clarify. So you believe that you can't rape your spouse. Your
whether you're a man and a man, or a woman and a woman,
yeah,
or a man and a woman.
Your marital spouse, after you've got married, you cannot rape each other. So one of you could violently force themselves onto the other,
if
and one of
that's
them is kicking and screaming,
right,
and that is not rape.
No, but that is domestic violence, and the person should go to jail for that, or prison.
But why is it not rape?
The sex, in this case, I would say, is not the violation. The violence is the violation.
So
I would call that sexual assault.
You believe that married people are entitled to the other person's body when they choose? No.
That's why it's a sexual assault.
I don't understand the difference. If I wanted at any point, I demand sex at any point, and my husband cannot say no, because even if he does, that's still not
No,
rape.
I'm not saying he can't say no. I'm not saying he can't say no.
But if he says no, and I continue anyway, you're saying that that's not rape. There are no consequences for it.
I'm not saying there's no consequences. I'm not even saying that it's right. I'm just saying it's not rape.
So if you're saying it might not be right, but it's not rape, I think this might be where I'm getting a massive misunderstanding.
Okay, that's okay. Lots of people had misunderstandings, and I tried to correct them, but they only wanted to hear what they wanted to hear.
So you would say that forcing your marital partner to have sex with you, so first, it's wrong. So is that right or wrong?
Yes, yeah, okay. I'm saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's not rape. Okay. So what would taking your husband's car is wrong, but it's not grand theft auto.
So
it's very wrong.
So it's wrong, but it's not rape. So what would you should that person be punished for it? Should the perpetrator?
I would say,
punished?
like, okay, in the description you gave of it being violent, like he hit her or he damaged her.
Not necessarily hit her. Just they forced themselves onto the other.
Well, forced how?
Pushing, holding down, and going for it. Doesn't have to be physical.
I would call that assault. I would call that assault.
Okay.
I would call that assault, or even sexual assault. I don't think it should be called rape.
See, I don't understand why it's suddenly not rape. If it's still wrong and they should still be punished, why is it suddenly a lesser crime just because they're married? Other than because I disagree that yes.
Because
so I agree that when
again,
you're married, there is a sense that there is sex involved. You have an expectation of sex. You're not entitled to it, though. I wouldn't say.
Well, actually, it depends who you talk to. If you're talking to France, hold on. If you're talking about countries like France, if you're a woman, you are entitled to sex. A woman sued her husband for the equivalent of $14,000 because she said her husband didn't give her enough sex, and they awarded her that amount of money.
Which is ridiculous, because if he didn't want it, then that would be rape. So that is stupid.
Well, no, because she didn't force herself on him. She got a divorce and said he's not giving me enough sex, and she wants money because she was cheated. So he had to pay her.
So we have agreed there is a certain amount of sex that is expected, but that does not mean that you can.
Well, how much? How can you define that, though? How much sex is or isn't expected?
Well, that would be on a so that would be something that on a case-by-case basis, and it would have to be reasonable.
Well, how do you define reasonable? This is incredibly subjective.
Even one of them just saying, I don't get enough sex, so I want a divorce, would be fine. But they do not have the right to take the sex. They do not have a right to force themselves on the others. They do not have a right to rape the others by having sex with them against their consent. There are consequences for refusing to have sex with your partner, and one of them could be divorce. Totally agree. But no one forcing yourself onto someone else is rape. And I don't think it should make a difference.
Okay, all right. Here's a situation. Can you give pre-consent to any sex?
Well, you can decide to stop at any point, really. So not really, no.
No, because something you said before.
You have to give consent for every time you do it. Every single situation, you have to have new consent. So no, you can't. You cannot give someone a voucher and go, "Oh yeah, you can."
Well, the guy I work with, his wife would strongly disagree with you, because she told her husband that if I'm ever asleep and you're interested, just go for it.
That's entirely up to her, but she would then have a
right. But you just said you can't give free consent. You said you have to have new consent each and every time.
I'm the understanding that if she woke up and then said, you know what, I'm not interested and I'm tired. So what she's done,
I would agree that if
what she has done is to prove in a court of law that there was a reasonable expectation that consent wasn't given, and she has lowered that bar. And if she woke and said, you know what, I'm actually not in the mood.
I would say that when you get married, you have more than enough reasonable expectation of consent.
So I would say yes, marriage lowers the bar of expectation for consent, but it does not remove it. So
I would say that it is consent. You are sharing your bodies. You are promising to share your bodies with each other and only each other in monogamous marriages. By the way, polygamous marriages, that's a different topic. But in monogamous marriages, you are giving consent, lifelong consent to share each other's bodies, as well as each other's properties, and share each other's basis.
There's some days where I'm really tired, like tonight, I'm too tired, I'm not going to have sex tonight. And, you know, if my husband then tried to force that, then that would be rape. So I say that now, but then if we then had some foreplay and he persuaded me, then that's consent. So within marriage, you have lowered the bar, but you can still be raped. You can still be forced to have sex against your will.
And there are other feminists who would disagree with you because he's using your biology against you.
No, we are literally just discussing the actual, like, a very specific type of. We're talking the black and white. This was definitely rape. So let's just look at the extreme. And you're saying that at the extreme, when someone literally forces themselves on them. Again,
I would say that the sex is not rape. I would say that it's sexual assault, or it's it would be sexual violence. I would not consider that rape.
See, I don't understand.
That I'm going to look like the villain right?
No, I just don't
understand.
Okay, why
okay,
that
look,
would,
okay, hold
why
on.
suddenly
let me
it makes a difference. So you agree it's wrong. You agree the perpetrator should be punished. But
in the black and white sense that you're talking about. Yes.
In the black and white, let's just keep this simple. In the black and white, so it was wrong. You agree the perpetrator should be punished, but for some reason you're not comfortable to use the word rape.
I think it's inappropriate in this case.
And you
because
think
when you get married,
do you think they should have a lesser sentence than if they weren't married? So exactly the same situation, exactly identical. The only difference is one was 2 weeks before they got married and one was a week afterwards.
In the black and white sense that you're talking about, would
let's keep
a lot of violence and damage to her, I would think, or an extreme risk to her health had she not copulated.
Oh no, he might just have been particularly forceful and she couldn't get out of it.
In that case,
he might just have used his body weight to pin her down, but there might not necessarily be any bruising.
Then I would consider that. Then I'd consider that assault, as you would pin anybody down. But the sex itself, I would not consider rape, because this is someone you would have you've had sex with 10,000 times before, and would have otherwise had sex with 10,000 times again.
But then why should it matter if they're married or not?
Changes the circumstances.
So surely, if you're in a relationship, then that's the same situation. Why, just because you've signed a contract?
It's not that you've signed a contract. It's that you've agreed to share everything in your life with another individual. Your sex, your money, your property, your children, your soul, your taste, everything in your life you're sharing. Now, the guy who made a series of response videos to me, he goes out and and his position was that you can steal from your spouse, and that you can rape your spouse. And then I said, oh, so you're saying it's not a union? And he looks at the camera and he goes, yeah, okay. But because in that situation, it's not a union. What you have in that situation is you have just two assholes with a roommate agreement. By the way, that's essentially what it is. You're just talking about two people living in a confined space together. You're not talking about a union. You're not talking about anything special in that case, because he also brought up the contract before the marriage. What the hell is that called?
What about a slave relationship?
Hold on. What the hell is that called? You know what I'm talking about. Where you writing up agreement what your marriage is going to be?
A
prenuptial. Thank you. Yeah. So he was talking about, well, you can always get a prenup. Well, here's the problem with that. A judge can throw out a prenup anytime he fucking wants for any reason. He may not like the font the prenup was written in and decide to throw it out, right? So what feminists have done is they've convinced people to change the law, and I don't think for the better, so that the women get all the benefit out of the marriage, and there's no benefit for men in marriage anymore. Okay. There's not one single benefit a man gets.
It is related. I am curious to know, in a master-slave relationship when there was slavery ownership, could the master rape the slave?
In a slave ownership relationship, I don't think a situation like that could realistically exist. I know what you're talking about, and in that case,
when there was slavery, they did take them.
Yeah, I understand. I'm saying in the context you're talking about.
Yeah.
In the context you're talking about, I'd have to say no.
So you'd say that that's not rape?
To be intellectually honest, I would have to say no. However, I would also say that you can't really. You can't really own another person in that circumstance.
Except that you've just said that in marriage you effectively
no, because marriage is different.
You're a union.
If the person chose to be a slave, right, under the same contract, because they used to do that.
There's many forced marriages. So you're saying in
Pakistan, thank you for bringing that up.
Hold on a minute.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. I am so fucking glad you brought that up. In a forced marriage, it's different, right? Because the person doesn't choose to be in that marriage. If they're forced to be in that marriage, then in that case, that can be rape. They did not choose to. It's like in The Princess Bride. Did you say yes? No. You skipped that part. Then you didn't do it. You're not married. As far as I'm concerned, if you do not choose of your own free will and your own free volition, right, without threat of violence or coercion of any kind, right, then you're not married.
So
or
you
you're
say
married.
that
I might have got lost in my rant there.
marriage is a pre-consent to any sex.
I'm saying when you get married, you're consenting to being someone's sexual partner for life. You are also consenting to sharing your children. You're
on demand, though, because there's a difference between, yes, I'm going to have sex with you once a week, versus you can have sex with me whenever you want. There is a massive difference.
I'm going to put it this way. If you can't rescind your consent to sex, if I can't rescind my consent to my property.
Well, yeah, if you lend something to someone and then you go, I want it back.
No, I'm talking about within a marriage. I'm talking about within a marriage. If you can rescind your consent to sex, I should be able to rescind my consent to property.
I don't agree that that's an analogy.
I think it's a perfect analogy because, like I said,
it's about ownership.
Have brought the sex and men have brought
property. You have joint ownership. When people do not have joint ownership, it's not a union of the physical individual. I am not.
Is.
No.
I'm saying it is. Okay, so we've obviously covered the places. Okay, actually, I want to bring up Games of Thrones in this one. Okay,
I've not watched
Sansa Stark. Wait, yeah, Sansa was that her? Sansa, yeah, I think it was Sansa Stark, right? She was not forced to be married, right? They asked her several times and made sure that she was consenting to getting married. She had the choice of saying no. She may have feared for her life if she said no, but no one actually threatened her life. That threat to her life might have only been in her mind. Hold on. She consented to being married, right? Then, on their wedding night, she never said no to the sex. She only hesitated. They knew beforehand that she never had sex with Tyrion. See, all of a sudden the fucking names are out of my head. God damn it! When is Game of Thrones next season coming? Okay, so they know they never had sex with her. She never had sex with her, right? So she never consummated that marriage, which means it never happened, right? According to the laws and traditions, right?
So did she consent?
She got married. And as you said, there's an expectation and understanding.
Did she consent to the sex at that point?
I would say yes.
So she consented to the sex. If they weren't married, ignore that bit.
Okay.
Did she consent to the sex?
I would say yes.
Then it's not rape. The fact that they're married or not is immaterial.
What they're saying, what feminists are saying, is that it is rape because she didn't say yes, right? And she was forced into the marriage, which she wasn't. She was never actually forced into the marriage. She swore upon her gods, right, and took the oath before her gods that she was marrying this guy.
That's fine, but if
and then at the wedding night, he says, "Turn around so we can have sex." He goes, "I'm not going to ask a second time," right? So that's maybe sort of a threat, right? But we don't know what his actions are going to be. He could be like, "I'm going to annul this marriage and you're fucking out of here."
If she hadn't consented and she'd made it very clear that she didn't consent,
I don't think she did make it clear. She just stood there with a frozen face, like she was scared. But it was also the first time she'd ever had sex.
Well, exactly.
So it's reasonably,
So in a court of law, does he have reasonable? Did he have reason to believe that she consented? That she wanted to have sex? Then that's not rape.
That's what I'm saying. But what I'm also saying is that it's the feminists that have saying we're now boycotting Games of Thrones because this girl was raped.
So this is one of those grey ones where there are situations where the girl where one of them can believe they were raped and the other one believes that they weren't, and this is where the law says that you have to prove reasonable, that the belief that there was consent must be reasonable. So you can have situations where one of them believes they were raped and the other one believes that they didn't rape, and then that's like the most complex, I would have thought. So you do have to. You do have to take that into account, I believe.
Now, for people judging my character based on that video that I made before, and I do have to leave soon myself. I have to hurry up to church, which is actually a good distance away.
We've obviously not persuaded each other. This has been really interesting. I've really enjoyed this.
It's fucking April, and my car is covered with snow. How fucked up is that?
Well, I've seen snow in April plenty of times.
I've actually found a patch of snow in fucking July on a hot summer day. A patch of fucking snow just in the bottom of this little ditch thing, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm sweating here, walking through the woods, and there's a fucking patch of snow that just won't fucking die. It was weird as hell, but it was Vermont, so whatever. Not that it was in the mountains, so and. Still,
I'd like to just clarify that the rape scene you just described, I have not seen. So I am literally basing everything I said on what you said. Such a good series. Because I don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't have time to watch Game of Thrones.
So let me get back to the video that I made before on the thing. Okay. They were questioning, like, oh, you're a horrible person, you're a rape apologist, you're blah 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 blah. No, I think rape is very, very bad. But clearly, as you've seen in this video, many people disagree on what is or isn't rape. Whether you're talking about how much alcohol someone's drank,
that's why I wanted to check the most extreme, where pretty much everyone goes, "That's definitely rape." So what I like to do is
to me that would require a lot of violence.
Where we can, but even then, when you said that the violence was what was wrong, and that they should be done for the violence, not the sex.
Right. But you can use sex to be violent towards someone. So if he has sex with her in such, let me put it this way. If you have sex with your wife that's so violent and she's screaming for you to stop that you actually rip her apart inside, there should be no amount of jail time. No amount of jail time that could ever make you repay your debt to society.
Is that rape? If you're both married, is that rape?
Rape, no, but it is extreme violence, and it is a violation of the person's body in that case, because you're not just having sex; you're harming someone mentally.
So you would charge them with grievous bodily harm.
Oh, that too. There would be a number of things. I think the person in that scenario would be violated. So one of the main
things you wouldn't charge them with rape. You would charge them with grievous bodily harm, which has a different sentencing to rape. So not only that, whereas if this was rape, you could.
I would say, like I said before, there should be a completely Blaise. There should be a completely different category, because it's one thing when you harm a stranger. When you harm someone like your spouse, right? And then especially in a sexual manner, to me that's as bad as it fucking gets.
So
it's right up there with murder as far as I'm concerned.
Have 3 kids together and are basically living as they're married, but they haven't signed the contract. Where's the boundary? Would you count them as married?
No, I wouldn't. Like I said, if you don't say it, then you didn't do it.
So why in that case, if you made that distinction, why would anyone get it if suddenly the sentencing is completely different just because you've signed a piece of paper?
It's not that you signed a piece of paper.
You devalued marriage.
The paper is irrelevant. The oath that you swear.
Completely the other way around. The oath is irrelevant. The paper is everything.
The paper is shit you can wipe your ass with.
The paper is the legal agreement that they hold you to. That is the agreement that you've agreed
to.
Change.
Laws become irrelevant. Laws become forgotten. In Vermont, it's illegal to whistle while underwater. Think about that for 2 seconds before your head explodes. Seriously, it's illegal. It's illegal to buy cornflakes on Sundays in Ohio.
The vows, I don't even remember what vows we took. It certainly wasn't the traditional one that you put up, because the only thing that matters was the legal requirements at the end of it. Why can I get a divorce? How can I get a divorce? What's the expectations under law? That's all that matters.
I disagree. I think the oath matters more.
I don't
because
think
you're not just saying it to say it, right? These words
I just said
are
it to
binding
get
more so than any contract you could write.
I got married. I signed a piece of paper. I don't even remember what I said. What I said doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the whole fiasco of getting married was rather irrelevant. What was relevant was the benefits that we had legally by signing a document, which then meant that if I died,
then I would say your marriage is as worthless as that piece of paper, and maybe it is rape then.
But that piece of paper has legal weight. It's
and
the same as
like I said, laws change all the time.
Signing a mortgage on a house.
If nobody can find your marriage license, let's say you have to go back and nobody can find your marriage license, right? And the person who witnessed your marriage is dead.
Does
that mean you're not married?
It's written in the registry. If they lost the book, it doesn't stop you from it, but you'd have to struggle to prove it. But then I guess I'd have to take your word for it. But yeah, that's why they sign it. My piece of paper doesn't mean much. The fact it's written in a legal book that they look after, that they think that they have. So that's what matters.
Okay, here's a scenario for you then. Let's say you got married under law, in the UK law. Let's say 5 years later, Germany overthrew your country. You are no longer married because you were married under UK law, and that marriage is null and void because there is no UK government.
Okay, whatever. I don't.
So are you no longer married? Do you no longer have any rights to his property?
I guess not. I guess if someone annulled our marriage,
the government's gone.
Then I would.
UK law. Yeah. UK law doesn't exist if the Germans take over.
If UK law doesn't exist, then the marriage is irrelevant. The marriage is the law, and if the law disappeared, the marriage would become irrelevant.
It wouldn't, though, because that's happened before. Hold on. Because this has happened before in history, right? And what's more important than the paper you signed under whatever particular, because if I get married in the United States, right? And then I move to Germany, the fact that I said those words are important. Not that some name was on a piece of paper. What if someone forges your name? Are you married by law?
So just because someone annulled my marriage with my husband wouldn't stop us from being together.
No, you're missing my point. You're missing my. Actually, that just made my point. Thank you. Yeah. You just made my point. The fact that you're together, the fact that you made a promise to each other is the important thing. Not some law, not some name on a piece of paper, because anyone can write your name on a piece of paper and say you got married. How do you prove you didn't say those words?
Well, we didn't care about getting married. We cared about the legal benefits that we get, and the fact that my family, it was nice for the family, and we just wanted to make it official, and particularly when we have kids. So because it gave
the marriage is just a convenience, right?
More right, yeah. So
we're actually going back into something we said hours ago. Hold on, I only have a little bit time left, so let me get to something. People have talked about my character in all the comment sections of my video and other video, and saying I'm a horrible, shitty person and blah 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 for having this.
Well, you said something that they didn't like.
Yeah, I understand. But here's the thing: they started saying things that I would do and blah blah blah. Here's what I would do in my circumstance. Let's say, for instance, I get married, right? And about 3 years later, I'm rubbing my wife's back, right? And I'm starting to rub to her lower back, and I'm touching her in some intimate ways. And she goes, "Not tonight, honey. I'm rolling right the fuck over." Just because I don't think it's rape doesn't mean that I would expect anything from her. And that's actually literally what I would do. She said, "No, my back is turned to her, and I'm going to try to sleep." I'm probably not. Or I'll just handle my business right there. I'll just whip out Mr. Happy. Woohoo! Yay! grab a, paper towel and head to the bathroom, wash my hands, come back, be done. Whatever I need to do, because if she's not going to be there for me sexually, fuck it. I'll be there for me sexually. I think you should be there for each other sexually. I believe it's my job to be there for her sexually. I believe that it's her job to be there for me sexually. I shouldn't need to demand it at any point in time. Not that she should be willing to sexually satisfy me at the drop of a fucking hat. There are but similarly, if she couldn't have sex due to a medical condition, right? And I've heard this from other guys, right? Either cervical cancer or something else where it's really painful for
what if you couldn't? What if something happened and you had to? What if you got penis cancer and had to have it amputated?
Oh, I would never have it amputated.
You'd just die.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not even kidding.
Okay. So another guy who's had it removed.
No, if I had cancer at all, I wouldn't have it, whether it's heart, brain, no matter what, I wouldn't have it removed.
That's another conversation for another time.
Yes, that is.
So in my relationship with my husband, we have both denied each other sex at points in our relationship.
Right.
But at the same time, I've also had sex when I wasn't hugely in the mood, but I did consent.
Yeah, you did it anyway because
I do have a sense that he wanted it and it's important to me to make him happy. But if I had literally said no, then that's in my right, and if he tries to force himself on me from there, that is rape. I still think that that's rape.
Okay, you're free to have your opinions.
Yeah. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree.
What part of the marriage is important. I think it's very important to have these discussions, and I think it's more importantly that both of us are honest about our opinions on this matter. Because if we cannot be honest, especially when we disagree, then no progress can ever be truly made.
We should totally find more things we disagree on, because this was fun.
I'm glad you have fun. I'm sure I'm going to get a shitstorm for this, and I don't care.
Note to everyone in the comments and who's watching this, we've heard he's not a horrible person. He just has a funny gymnastics in his mind of why it's suddenly not rape. We'll have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not going to go and rape and molest his wife in the future. It's all fine.
Only because you can't.
Don't dogpile him. Don't have that.
And like I said, okay. Here's another thing that I did when I was 18. She was 17. We were going to get married. She was my fiance. I woke up one day, and I always wake up early because I could never sleep. I never actually slept. I just closed my eyes, and part of my brain, like the prefrontal cortex, it doesn't shut down. It slows down. So I can hear every word that's said in the room, no matter when it's said. Translating is not always there. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it sounds like adults on Charlie Brown, right? Womp, 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 womp. Because the part of my brain, that's right here, the Broco Center.
I'm getting really hungry, and it is like 9:30.
4 minutes, this is ending no matter what, one way or other, right? So anyway, I looked over and I saw that she was in that state between sleeping and awake, right? So she wasn't really awake, but she wasn't really asleep either. But she was more asleep than she was awake. And I got on top of her, and I got inside of her, and I started going in and out, and she really got into it. Now, Blaise, I'm going to guess that to you this is rape, because she did not give me consent prior.
Yeah, well, I'm going to assume that she was effectively asleep.
Okay, she was effectively unconscious.
She could not give consent in the form that she had.
Right.
She was incapable of giving consent. So yes, I would say that would be rape.
And if you told me that when I was 18 years old, I would have looked at you like you were the craziest batshit person on the planet, because I had reasonable expectations that I had consent, because we've been doing it about on average like 7 times a day. at that point. She was the first person I'd ever been with, and she was really, really enjoying it. Now, here's the messed up part. I did this pretty much intentionally. She woke up while I was going in and out, and she was still enjoying it. In fact, when she woke up, she enjoyed it 10 times more than when she was quote unquote unconscious.
Then I would say that you were really, really lucky, because if she'd woken up and had not been enjoying it, she could have had to done for rape.
Now, had she told me to get off of her, I would have, right? Instead, the exact opposite happened. She was really getting into it.
So you were playing a very, very dangerous game here. This was Schrodinger's rape. You genuinely didn't know if you were raping her or not, because you did not have consent.
Honestly, in my understanding of our relationship, I had complete consent.
So you believed you had reasonable,
more than reasonable,
a reasonable understanding that you already had consent.
Not only
she couldn't give consent at that point in time.
Right. So when she woke up, she was into it 10 times more than when she was quote unquote unconscious, right? And that's when I pulled out and went down the stairs, and she said, come back. She was mad that I got out and left. She was pissed. I told this to a friend of mine, who was a female, who was dating another friend of mine, a guy I had known, and we had played a lot of games together because we were both in the Gamers Guild. Well, technically, I wasn't a member or anything.
Just to point out, I do not what Colin just did there. I do not recommend anyone do. It's a very, very dangerous idea, and that's hugely risky behavior.
I would too. I would agree with you now. But if you told me that when I was 18, I would have looked at you like you were batshit crazy, because our relationship was 90%
and I'm fairly certain in a court of law, in the UK in the court of law, I'm fairly certain that you would, if she had pushed charges, that you would have been done for rape. Because you might be right. The reasonable expectation, it would be perceived that your reason wasn't reasonable because she was unconscious. So you could make the argument, and they might give you a lesser sentence as a result.
Maybe. But like I said, I had more than reasonable.
I'm fairly certain that you would,
in my mind anyway,
been convicted of rape.
And not only did I not think that wasn't rape at all, she didn't think that was rape at all.
Yeah,
so it wasn't even rape in her mind. But then again, you have to know your partner. Yeah. This is the most important thing: is you have to know your partner.
I would say
if my partner considered something rape,
she didn't think it was rape, and you didn't think it was rape. It wasn't rape.
Okay, we established that, I think, the other video ago.
Okay. So, but you were really, really lucky, because the level of there was a very, very high chance that she could have thought it was rape, and it would have been rape. And so it was just based on her decision, which I suppose she chose to consent, and it was okay, and you were really lucky.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the important thing. If she had woken up, hold on. If she had woken up and said, "Get off of me," I would have instantly.
Okay.
Okay, and we've got to go. I've got to race to church now. I'm not even sure.
I'm looking after the kids.
Yay! Yeah, I will. They're making me sign. Oh shit! I gotta get out that fucking contract. They're making me sign the church's code of ethics contract, and I have to put down.
I am definitely not a pedophile.
That's the first thing on it. I'm not even kidding you. It's the first thing on it. It says no sexual contact with the children. I'm like, ew! They put this on. Don't make me read children and sexual contact in the same sentence.
I love that.
I'm like,
I totally promise. If I was a pedophile, I would totally tell you.
Oh, that is so gross.
Oh, that contract is like really
seriously. No. I have to explain this. When Mr. Garrison was having his balls removed in the TV show South Park, I could watch and eat dinner at the same time. I've seen people's heads blow up. I've seen women give birth. I've seen everything under the noonday sun and eaten my dinner. I could watch two girls in a cup and still eat my dinner. When Kyle's brother was being raped by that teacher, I had to shut off the show 3 times. I could not eat. I had to throw my dinner away. The only thing that can make me lose my fucking lunch isn't pedophilia. I realize that I've come to learn that is in fact a sexual preference, and not everybody acts on their pedophilia. It's the child rapist I can't fucking stand.
So according to chat, we're both rapists.
Woohoo! Did we rape each other in this video?
No, totally. You disagreed with me. It must be rape.
Yeah, I raped a feminist. Sorry.
Anyway, so I'm Blaise Wilson. I write on the Egalitarian Feminism website. There'll be links below. I have YouTube, I have Tumblr, I have Facebook. Again, lots of descriptions, lots of links below. So yeah, I'm on Twitter at EggaFem is the EggaFem one. I've got my own personal one as well. So again, all the links. But I am going to go and eat something now.
And I've got to run to church. I am Karn 33333. So have a good day, everybody. Even if you are a feminist.
Yes, thank you.
If you're a child rapist, there's no imaginable pain in whatever that you can go through that I'll have compassion for. Asterix. And I'll get into that asterisk in a different video.
Okay. I look forward to our next disagreement. This was fun.
All right. Bye-bye.